total coat up.
From the sunrise on the hills to the lights across the town, we've walked through storm and silence. We've walked through storm and silence, but we never back down. Built by hands of many, from the brave to the unknown, a dream was planted deep here, and it grew into a home. Through the tears and through the fire, through the years that shaped our name, we stood together stronger, and we rose again and again. Oh, America, land of the free, 250 years of courage in your story, from sea to shining sea. We sing your legacy, one nation under heaven, strong in liberty. Oh, America, we stand as one, with hearts of pride beneath the setting sun. Through all we've been and all will be, forever proud, forever free. From the fields to the cities, from the homes to the shore, every generation carried hope worth fighting for. For the ones who came before us, for the ones yet to come, we keep the flame of freedom burning bright in everyone. Through the struggle and the sacrifice, through the voices of the past, we honor every chapter, and we build a future that will last. Let the bells ring out in victory. Let the whole world see our light. We are more than words on history. We are hope. We are the fight. Oh, America, land of the free, 250 years of courage in your story, from sea to shining sea. We sing your legacy, through all we've been and all to be, forever proud, forever proud, forever free. Forever proud, forever free. America, our home, our dream. In every dawn, in every prayer, we feel the strength of dreams still there. Through changing times and passing years, our hearts still rise through joy and tears. So let the flags wave high tonight. Let the old songs fill the light. From every voice and every town, we lift this sacred nation's crown. Oh, America, land of the free, 250 years of courage in your story. From sea to shining sea, we sing your legacy. One nation under heaven, strong in liberty. Oh, America, oh, America, oh, America, we stand as one, with hearts of pride beneath the setting sun. Through all we've been and all will be, forever proud, forever free. Forever proud, forever free. Forever proud lives in you, forever free. Oh, America, land of the free, 250 years of courage in your story. From sea to shining sea, we see one nation under heaven, strong in liberty. Oh, America, we stand as one, with hearts of pride beneath the setting sun. Through all we've been, and all will be, forever proud, forever free. Forever proud, forever free. The land of hope, the land of liberty.
At Great Wolf Lodge, the splashes are huge, the action never stops, and the smiles come easy. So bring your pack together and book your stay today and strengthen the pack.
Stay there.
250 years, we've stood the test of time.
I don't know.
One prayer still rising.
Rubberneck. Good cheer. Good chill, line up. There's a dog outside. Chico.
Amber waves beneath the sunrise, purple mountains touch the sky. Every eagle learns to fly. Generations built with courage, dreams secured through sacrifice. Every blessing whispers softly, every mercy has its price. We're standing on amazing grace, not by strength of human hands. Every gift begins with heaven, every hope within this land. Raise your eyes above the skyline, above the flame. Every freedom finds its purpose when we call upon His name. God of mercy, God of justice, guide us through the. Keep our hearts forever. We remember those before us, voice carried by the wind. They believed the truth was stronger, faith would always rise again. Teach our children love and courage, teach them mercy more than pride. May compassion shape our future with the Savior as our guide. Every promise worth defending starts within the human heart. When we follow Christ together, light pushes back the dark. Raise your eyes above the skyline, lift your heart above the flame. Every freedom finds its purpose when we call upon His name. God of mercy, God of justice, guide us through the coming days. Keep our hearts forever faithful. One nation under
Now one more after this, you guys.
Christ remains forever. Yesterday, today, bless this land, bless every family, bless every servant who seeks the right. Make us humble, make us faithful, be our hope, our truth, our light. Raise your eyes above the skyline, lift your voice and proudly sing. Every blessing points to heaven, every heart belongs to Him. God of mercy, God of justice, lead us through these changing days. May our freedom always flourish. One nation under grace. One nation under grace. Forever under grace. God of our fathers, God of tomorrow, be our strength forevermore.
Amen to USA. One more short one. Five minutes.
You are King. All of heaven
This is a big
worships
one. Had a lot of views on this one, Samantha.
Light surrounds your throne. Glory fills the heavens. Holy is the sound. Elders bow before you, casting down their crowns at your feet alone. Forever you are King. Heaven worships you. Thousands of angels fall before your throne. Forever you are King. Jesus lifted high. Hosanna is rising through the courts of heaven. Holy Lamb of God, thunderous praises rising, crystal seas are shining. All your glory reigns. You are Alpha and Omega. Angels bow and wonder all around your throne. Forever you are King.
Hey. Come on.
Jesus glorified. Praise never ceases before your holy throne. Worthy is the Lamb. Holy, holy, Lord God Almighty. Worthy, worthy to receive all praise. Forever you are King. Heaven worships you. Glory, honor, and power belong to you alone. Forever you are King. Your throne stands forever. Heaven never ceases worshiping your name. Forever King, heaven worships you.
Is your mattress giving you?
So that one I just found, Lucy. Lucky I found that one. That had over 1,000 likes or views. Okay, everybody. We got the opening music stuff at the beginning now. Do something different. I never did that. I'm gonna try to start doing that. What do you want, buddy? Huh? So I was telling Lucy this morning and Kay that our weather here is awful because of the Canada fires, and it's hard to breathe out there. My brother-in-law has a stone of fire because he has to work out in that. He said it's really bad. People are wearing masks and covering up their face. And yeah, I went out to the store, got my popsicle and ice cream, and luckily I'm okay so far. I got the air on and the curtain shut. So got the water and everything. Chico's good. So they had only 8 fires contained. I guess they got over 100 more to go. We do got Mel Spas, and we got Nick Shirley Carroll from yesterday's where he was at the DC there with Adam Keefe there. His is going to be 20 minutes. I got like 1,000 stuff to share, you guys. So we're going to do one at a time and see how long we can go. And it says 7:30 the time for the speech, you guys, but RSPN. But I don't think she's going to go till what, 8 o'clock? You think 8 o'clock he's going to be on? I thought it was 9 o'clock, but I got it set for 8 o'clock. So if he comes on at 7:30, I'll be watching. So let's keep out on alert. for 7:30 till 8 o'clock, because I think he won't be till 8, maybe even 9. Yeah, girl. And there's no Billy Bean today so far. That's shocking. Come on, come on. There's Chico. Say hi to everybody. Huh? Hi. Huh? So I got 3 clips on President Trump. He had out 1:45, and these short ones I want to play before we get into all the other. Oh, and last night, the death clock lady came out last night, so we got her too. We got a lot of stuff to cover. I don't know, Maria. There's so much to cover. Yeah, Kay should be in. I talked to her.
Already calling the greatest symbol of American pride ever made. It's beautiful, it's powerful, and it represents everything we love about this country. We call it the Trump Golden Badge, a masterpiece celebrating our historic 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Can you believe it? 250 years of strength, courage, and greatness, and we're just getting started. This isn't just a badge, folks. It's a symbol of freedom, prosperity, and the American dream. It's been crafted with absolute precision, designed for the patriots, for you, the men and women who stood with me through the toughest times, who never gave up, who always believed in America. It represents financial freedom, stability, and a new golden era for our nation, backed by one of the strongest foundations anywhere in the world, worth nearly $1 trillion, folks. That's with a T. Nobody's done anything like this before. Nobody even came close. This badge shines like the spirit of America itself, bold, resilient, unstoppable. And I'm telling you right now, the best days of our country are not behind us. They are right ahead, and we're bringing them back, bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. So believe in it. Believe in yourself. Take care of your family, love your country, and wear your Trump Golden Badge proudly, because the future, our great American future, is golden. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Okay, I got 2 other ones here.
Describe. Last night, July 16th, I had a dream. Thursday night, Donald Trump, ALS, Ice Bucket Challenge. I've never seen this video before, but I always see it. I always see it as I decode. So last night, God gave me this dream. Watch this. I've been called out by everybody for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Homer Simpson, Mike Tyson, Vince McMahon, like everybody's going crazy over this thing. I guess they want to see whether or not it's my real hair, which it is. So here's what I'm going to do. Miss Universe and Miss USA, I own it. They're here. They're going to really do a number on me. I'm challenging President Obama, my son Donald, son Eric. Let's go, ladies. Homer Simpson, McMahon of the wrestling, Mike Tyson, both his sons, President Obama,
Trump Tower. I have it all in the decode. This was a future past move, people, and it was about a baptism. Trump being baptized. This is the dream I had last night. It's really deep. I had it at 3:55 a.m. Exactly 47 weeks and 4 days before his next birthday. 47 as in Trump. Now, August 18th, 2014 is the day he did it. John the Baptist, that's who Trump would be. He preceded Christ. His birthday is 6/24. I put it together. 6/24, 14, John the Baptist, and August 18th, 2014. I made it the same year. The difference is 55.
This guy's good.
Julius Caesar died at 55 years old. The 6/24 is off the chain, people. It's off the chain. Lionel Richie got sick on stage on 6/24. Lee Harvey Oswald and the mayor of New York subtract their birthdays. That's 6/24. I Pet Go 2 came out on 6/24. Michael Jackson's last performance was on 6/24. The lady who was on top of the Empire State Building 2 weeks ago, her birthday is 6/24. It's speaking. French Shot Blue, YouTube. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. This decode is almost.
That was a good one. This is the third one.
If today is Wednesday, July 15th and Thursday 16th July, 2026, this video reached you at the most important moment of your week. While most people will keep scrolling and miss what is already being prepared for them, you stopped, and that means everything. A surprise income, an unexpected opportunity, or a door that has been shut for far too long, is finally beginning to open for you. Follow my profile right now to stay connected. Press the heart if you know deep down your situation is about to change. And drop ready in the comments to claim what is already moving your way. This was never an accident. Congratulations, your good news found you today. If today is Wednesday, July 15th and Thursday 16th July.
Okay. Now we'll get you the depth clock. Let's see where I have it here. Came out last night. 10 minutes.
Announcing they are minting this $1 gold coin with Trump's face on it. Okay. The U.S. Treasury, you guys, is minting these gold coins. And he just recently said in an interview that the Fort Knox gold is there and there's over $1 trillion worth of gold in Fort Knox.
Wasn't exactly an even trade, but for President Trump, it was pretty even.
He usually comes out on top.
Not usually, always.
Always. What are we looking at here? These look exquisite.
Yep, so these are the displays of our currency over the years. Some of it, like we used to have silver certificates. We used to be backed by silver, sometimes gold. And then in the 70s, we just went to what was called fiat currency, where you didn't have to keep gold or silver in the vault. If any of these are still outstanding, though, the silver or gold for them is the at Fort Knox, waiting for them to be claimed if so needed.
Have you visited Fort Knox?
I haven't. People on my staff has. We're going to the treasurer's office. The treasurer has been to Fort Knox. I am happy to say all gold is present and accounted for. The U.S. has the largest pile of gold in the world, over $1 trillion at current market value.
I want you guys to listen very carefully, okay? They just announced that they are putting Donald Trump and Scott Bessent's signatures on the $100 bill. I said this could potentially be the announcement that the U.S. debt clock was talking about President Trump making the announcement of the new U.S. Treasury dollar on July 4th, which Trump posted the photo of the new $100 bill with his signature on it on July 3rd. Everyone was all up in arms saying, this is not the new U.S. Treasury dollar because it still says Federal Reserve on it. Let me show you something. This U.S. debt clock message, it said the money. Okay, we have the Fed note. We've got the gold certificate, the better, which is a $100 bill. Okay, and then the USA Treasury asset-backed dividend dollar, which we have the Clarity Act coming up. I think it's being addressed either this week or next week, hopefully. Now take a better look at the gold certificate, you guys. Did it have the Federal Reserve on the original gold certificate? Yes, gold certificates featured the Federal Reserve, specifically the high denomination series 1934 notes. So yes, the $100 bill did have the Federal Reserve on it, you guys. And the U.S. debt clock came out saying the gold certificate is the better. Fed note, the bad. Gold certificate, the better. We have the $100 bill with the Federal Reserve note. Yes, it does say Federal Reserve on it, but the original gold certificates that were backed by gold had the Federal Reserve on it. And now we have President Trump right here with his signature and Scott Bessent's signature on it. And they are issuing this gold coin, $1 gold coin with President Trump's face on it. And again, the Clarity Act, you guys, is going to be addressed either, I'm thinking it's going to be this month, right at the time where we have the Barbo's basket, which is the rare planetary alignment, is peaking July 19th through the 21st, which is coincidentally my birthday. Again, the Barbo basket is a rare planetary alignment expected between July 15th through the 24th, and its peak around July 19th through the 21st. Named after the French astrologer, blah, blah, blah. Barbo's basket is an uncommon alignment involving Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. According to astrological interpretations, it symbolizes global transformation, institutional restructuring, and collective renewal, you guys. Again, the Clarity Act is also expected to be addressed at the same time, which the Clarity Act is going to bring in the new USA Treasury asset-backed dividend dollar. It's the digital currency backed by real-world assets. You guys, it's happening. Things are so exciting right now. I have to get to work, so enjoy the rest of your day. Let's see what happens.
Okay, she's finally back. Hopefully she'll be coming out with more. So that's an update from her from last night. I got about 5 short ones here.
Pass through a bill that would keep us in daylight savings time permanent. Itself is called the Sunshine Protection Act, which was passed by the House of Representatives and currently waits the action of the Senate, where its future remains uncertain because apparently at one point they had tried to unanimously pass this before, but they wanted to keep the standard time, and the House was like, no, we're not doing that, and so they shot it down. Just recently, Tom Cotton came out and said he would absolutely vote it down. He does not want daylight savings time to be the norm across the country. There was a couple other senators too. One was a Democrat, one was a Republican. I don't know their names. I don't really care. Just pass the fucking bill. Just pass it. It isn't this or that. Like there's always going to be a group of people that's not going to be happy with it. Some people want to keep the standard time. Some people want to keep daylight savings time. You're never going to make everybody happy. But what needs to stop is the constant changing back and forth. That fucks people up more than I think even people realize. I had read one study where heart attacks like jumped in the time of daylight, like when you change the times around. It fucks with your circadian rhythm. It fucks with your sleep. It fucks with your day. It takes forever to adjust to. I don't care which one you pick. Just fucking change it. Everybody all in a tizzy with the House pass it, and now the senators are like, no, we're not going to. You know what? Fuck you guys. Fucking pass it. Just pass it. I'm so sick of this shit. Arizona, they stayed in, I don't even know if they're in daylight savings or they're in standard, but they stay all the time. And you know what? They do just fine. Maybe all the states should just get together and do what Arizona did and just not change it at all. And fuck the federal government. You're just fucking with people at this point, and it's annoying, and it gets on my fucking nerves. Knock it off. Pass the bill. and shut the hell up. On July 4th,
She had a point there. This is a new lady on TikTok.
So why are Minnesota investigators just now getting evidence? Federal prosecutors have been withholding evidence like police body camera footage, hard drives containing statements, and even Good's SUV from state investigators. And during that time, they haven't charged anyone in connection with either Good nor Preddy's death. Meanwhile, Minnesota was forced to take legal action to access the evidence for their own investigation. Officials were ignored and blocked when they went through formal request processes and eventually had to sue federal agencies back in March. Legal filings show that Minnesota finally got access after leveraging their own records in a sort of tit-for-tat deal. Federal prosecutors asked for the state's evidence in a separate investigation against an ICE agent, and state prosecutors gave them the records in return for the Good/Preddy evidence. At least 9 other people have been fatally shot by ICE since the shootings of Good and Preddy, and federal authorities have been present at those crime scenes to investigate, often taking over states' investigations. But the thing is, Congress can oversee federal investigations. So if Democrats can flip key seats in the midterms, they could actually hold ICE agents accountable for their crimes. The fatal
Yeah, that was a good one there. Another lady that talks fast. She gets a lot out.
death in 2 weeks. DHS says 4 men in Florida had an encounter with ICE officers in a vehicle in a parking lot and fled from the scene. One of the men ran into a busy road where he was struck by a semi-truck and sustained fatal injuries. We do not have details of the nature of this encounter at this time. Though the death was not the result of an ICE shooting like the other 2 recent fatalities, state reps are still calling to hold ICE accountable. Florida Democrat Rep. Angie Nixon stated the tragic deaths are the direct result of ICE's chaos. Whether it's a shooting or how they conduct their operations, the outcome is the same: fear, chaos, and death. This is not the first time people have died after being pursued by ICE. Last year, a 25-year-old man died when ICE stopped his car and he ran onto a highway in Virginia. Months before that, in California, a man running from a raid at Home Depot was fatally struck on a freeway. And before that, a worker on a farm died from a fall after fleeing ICE. While the right continues to dismiss these deaths, asking why did they run, it bears reminding that even those who have tried to comply have been, and others taken into custody have been forced into detention centers known for their cruelty. A 28-year-old man.
Okay, well, yep, that's another good one there. Follow. Hey, Lucy, guess you just came out. And I was the first one to hit her like button. See, I timed it perfectly. She just came out. It's almost 4 minutes.
Okay, a lot of you watched the last video that I posted about Lucy and you sent me condolences. Lucy's not dead. She's still here. It was at the end of the video. I have something very, very important to tell you, but TikTok is going to violate this, saying it's misinformation, and they're going to delete it. So I have to do it in code. You're going to have to just try to bear with me and figure it out. I need you to pay attention. If your dog or your cat has something going on like this, is about the damn most homegrown ass video you've ever seen, because I'm not professional. I don't have to prop the damn phone up. I'm just trying to, oh, wait a minute. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just here to entertain. One of my angel friends on here who literally has wings, saw my videos about Caesar and what's going on in Caesar's body. How about she sent me a little link to something called SEACT? Told me to research it, look into it. I'm going to tell you what I did. I bought a pound of it. It's $60. I mixed it up according to what you have to do. You have to pay attention. You have to do what it says to do, okay? You also have to measure a certain amount. This is for entertainment purposes. This is just for entertainment purposes. I already know how much because I've already measured it over and over and over. So what I do, and this is very important, for a nice treat for your dog, did you know that you can put broccoli, kale, asparagus, and broccoli. I'm sorry, guys. I've been very exhausted and very tired lately. Brussels sprouts and all that in your crock pot with your lean meats. That's wonderful. That's what I do. But did you know that that basically removes the benefits that broccoli has for what you just saw? Okay? Do you want to know how to get those benefits? Not too much, because you don't want to put too much fiber in a dog's diet. So what you do is, first of all, you move the pan so y'all can see what I'm doing. I take one of these. I put it in my mixer, my meat grinder. This is going to go viral because of how stupid I look. In the meat grinder. I've already poured my SEAC treat tea in there for a delicious little taste, okay? I'm back. I forgot the lid. So what you're going to do is, for all of you that don't have common sense, make sure you put the lid on there. The reason I say that is because I had a relative that tried to do something like this without a lid one time. We'll talk about that later. You mix it up. Okay. It's not quite mixed good enough, but I'm not gonna keep doing that on the video. Anyway, you mix it up till it's pretty fine. Then you put it back. You leave it alone. Put it in your refrigerator. It needs 10 to 15 minutes for the treat inside the broccoli and the Brussels sprout to release. You don't get it if you cook it. You don't get it immediately if you eat it. You have to crunch it up, smash it up, and leave it for 10 minutes. So this is why I'm telling you this, okay? I've lost all hope. I did the big L. I did the big I that y'all told me about and got another one. Now, I'm not saying y'all caused that. What I'm saying is it wasn't having any effect. I've already heard about that, okay? So I take my lean meats, my other vegetables that I throw in there, green beans, stuff like that. That's blanch. Ignore it. I mix all this together with bone broth that's made especially for dogs. Guys, I forgot to get the bone broth out. You see this? Do not give human broth. Do not do it. This right here has basically taken Lucy from the to. Okay. So I mix a little bit of this, just a little bit in there. I mix it up again. Later on tonight, I mix everything together. That's what he gets. The reason I'm telling you this is because do you remember this picture right here? Guess what my floor looks like now? 1 week before I received this, he and I laid on the bed and I rubbed him down with a cold rag because he was in basically fits from pain. When this arrived, I couldn't wait to get it going. You hear me? I've been doing the broccoli and stuff, but I didn't know until recently that you got to let it sit. There's been no more writhing around. There's been no more of this coming out. I can't tell you that it shrunk. I honestly don't think it has shrunk. I do know that he's not hurting. There's no blood coming from him. I'm not saying get this. I'm not saying it works. I'm saying it's a nice treat for your pet. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Does that cover it well, TikTok? So anyway, guys, I hope you got it. I'm going to post the screenshot of where I got this nice, cool, wonderful treat. Take it as you will, okay? And
That was good. Where do I have those?
I want to talk about a little bit. I posted a pretty good video that broke it down to my stories yesterday, but I want to talk about it more in depth because last week I did say that classic espionage, in my opinion, is one of the ways that regime change could occur in Iran. So I think what I'm more surprised about, I'm not surprised that Mossad was attempting to recruit human assets in Iran. They have made inroads into that. I think it's just surprising that it was him. He was president of Iran from 2005 to 2013. And this is the individual that got on the floor of the UN, denied the Holocaust, and then stated that he wanted to wipe Israel off the face of the map. He's also a person that I guess you could say is credited with accelerating Iran's nuclear program. So he is like a hardliner. And most of the presidents that came after him, they're all hardliners, but not as much as him, at least in my opinion, based on what I have seen with their former presidents. And so after 2013, he became somewhat disillusioned with the IRGC, with the Ayatollah, and he was placed under house arrest. He had some contacts with the Mossad, and that obviously upset the IRGC. I guess the question is why didn't they just kill him for that? I'm not saying that's right, but that seems like something that the IRGC would do. But I have another idea as to why they didn't. So I'm going to press pause on that for a second. So when the bombings first started occurring at the end of February in Iran, Israel bombed around the place where he was under house arrest. They made it seem like he had been killed, but they removed him and took him to a safe house and basically said, hey, you chill out here. Once the Ayatollah dies, you will be the new leader. And I think he was super okay with that. But I also think that the IRGC didn't kill him because they knew he had contacts with the Mossad during that, 12, 13 years. And I personally think that he would have been a double agent. If you want me to be honest with you, I think he would have fed whatever the Israelis were telling him to the IRGC and was feeding whatever the IRGC was telling him to the Israelis. And no one's really been talking about that kind of side of things yet because Iran doesn't hesitate, not the people of Iran, but the IRGC and the Iranian government does not hesitate to execute people for very small infractions. And this would be a large one. And so I personally think they kept him around to act as a double agent. I think Israel sort of started getting wind of that. I think he started realizing he couldn't do that. And that's why he's kind of backed off when we saw him at the Ayatollah's funeral.
Okay, Our Lady that we play all the time. I got a 6-minute one, and I'm going to do Nick Shirley's video is 22. And then we'll get to Mel after we do Shirley. I think this lady's a new one that she had. We played her before, but it might be a new one.
Everything looks normal on the surface, but spiritually, we are standing on the edge of something massive, and most people are sleepwalking straight into
This
it.
one?
We are living at the end of the age of grace, 2,000 years of the church age, and now we're at the doorstep of the 7-year tribulation. The Bible lays out every single detail, and we're watching it unfold like birth pains, quicker, sharper, closer together. But people are too busy keeping their heads in the sand, too busy still obsessing over politics, elections, trends, get ready with me's, home makeovers, their vacations, 401ks, while reality is collapsing right in front of them. Families are divided. Compassion is dried up. Lawlessness is rampant. People are lovers of self and lovers of money. Love has gone completely cold, just as it was written. And no matter how loud you shout the truth from the rooftops, some people simply will not wake up. The Bible describes exactly what's coming for those who are about to be left behind. A world where a loaf of bread is about to cost a day's wages.
Video.
Where Mystery Babylon, which I believe is America, specifically New York City, will be destroyed in 1 hour and cease to exist.
Oh,
Where the
wow.
sun and the moon are going to go dark. Where the oceans dry up. Where nuclear fire falls from the sky. Earthquakes shake the whole earth. World War III erupts. And 100-pound hailstones crash from the sky. Scorpions come out of the ground, and 2/3 of humanity will die.
Oh,
Cannibalism.
that's for tonight, Kim. I'm going to air the speech tonight.
Is going to spread because there's no food. And that's what they do. And those who do survive will beg for death. But God says it will not be given to them. This is the tribulation. And it's right around the corner. But before it hits, the rapture must happen first. The Lord is about to take those who belong to him out of here before he pours out his wrath. So let me ask you something. Are you turned off by Christians? Are you annoyed and you don't understand why they won't shut up about Jesus? Because if what the Bible says is true, and it is, the ones who don't believe in Jesus, who have not put their hope and their faith in the death, burial, and resurrection of the risen Savior, Jesus Christ, they will be left behind. The ones who know about God, but don't actually know him, they are headed straight into everything I just described. And it's going to be the worst time in human history. I'm convinced, though, that many of them still somehow have never heard the true gospel. And the gospel means good news. So I'm going to share it. But before you can understand the good news, you have to understand the bad. Do I deserve to go to heaven? Absolutely not. The Bible says that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So how many lies have I told? Too many to count. Have I ever taken something that didn't belong to me? Yeah. Have I had sex before marriage? Have I ever had hate in my heart, which Jesus says makes me a murderer? Of course I have. So by the law's standard, I'm a lying, adulterous, murderous thief, and that's only 4 of the commandments. If I break the law in court, the judge has the right to hand down the punishment. But if somebody else pays my fine, the judge also has the right to set me free. The Bible says the wages of sin is death. The punishment for sin is death. The Lord didn't give us the 10 Commandments as a checklist so we could earn heaven. The requirement to enter heaven is perfection. He gave us the 10 Commandments and all of the commandments to show us our sin, to expose what's on the inside of us, and to point us to our need for a Savior. I don't sin because of what I do. I sin because it's who I am. It's in my nature. I was born into it. Nobody had to teach me how to be selfish. I came out of my mom's womb wanting my own way. And because God is holy and set apart, perfect, and because he is a righteous judge, he cannot be in the presence of sin. It goes against his nature. So yeah, I was born deserving of hell. But God's nature is also love, mercy, faithfulness, righteousness, and truth. So he provided a way out for us. He sent his one and only Son, Jesus Christ, fully God, fully man, humble, perfect, and sinless. And he willingly laid down his life for us so that we could live. He was tortured, beaten, crucified, and buried. And 3 days later, he defeated death and he rose again. He paid the fine. He took the punishment so that whoever believes and trusts in him will be saved. Not because we're good, not because we're perfect, but because he is. Does that mean and its dominion and its grip is broken? If I die today, I know exactly where I'm going, not because of me, but because God sees his perfect Son covering me. And he now calls me a saint, not a sinner. I'm never going to die, by the way. But if you die without him, the Bible says your eternity is separation from God, torment without relief. This isn't fear-mongering. This is reality. Time is running out. Jesus is alive, and he's at the door. So this is why us Jesus freaks can't shut up, because the good news is real. The warnings are real, and time is almost up. Put your faith in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, the risen Savior. He's coming any day to snatch away his bride.
Okay, how was that one, you guys? How's it going at you? Got you. Okay, we got the 22-minute Nick Shirley coming up next.
Today I'm here in Washington, D.C. to testify in front of the Senate about widespread fraud. I actually just finished my time here. However, what you guys are going to see is actually crazy. For this hearing, these are supposed to be filled with Republicans and Democrats. We're talking about fraud. Fraud affects both Democrats, Republicans. Not a single dollar inside the United States says Republican or Democrat. However, not a single Democrat even showed up to the hearing today. The ranking Democrat member showed up for just a few minutes, and what he did was actually try to go and attack me, but he wouldn't even ask me a single question.
We need to restore the strong, experienced, and independent watchdogs who have a proven track record of fighting fraud and getting money back for the American people, rather than amplifying sensationalized social media that takes a more focused on getting views than on actually getting the truth.
The Democrats just completely did not even show up. it was only Republicans that talk about widespread fraud. And so think about that. You have senators of the United States who are not even showing up to hearings that we are paying them to go to. We pay for all the salaries of these individuals here, and not a single Democrat showed up. I don't even want to make this Republican or Democrat issue. However, that's just the facts. Not a single Democrat showed up on a hearing about fraud, and you are paying for their jobs. You're paying their salaries, you as the United States taxpayer. That's almost like fraud itself to not show up to your own job. Imagine if you didn't show up to your own job. What would happen? You wouldn't get paid. These people don't even show up, yet they still get paid. That's absolutely crazy. On top of the Democrats not showing up, they actually brought someone to testify against me, and that person they brought is blind. So we're talking about fraud, yet they bring someone who actually cannot even see the fraud. Nothing against blind people, but that's just a fact that the person they brought to the hearing to testify against me, his vision is impaired. He actually cannot see the fraud. And now let's get into me testifying and then also answering the questions back from the senators. However, really quick, if you guys want to help support the work we're doing, you guys can go to antifraudclub.com. We still have the Quality Leering Center t-shirts and hoodies available. And we also have, just for this last month, we have the America 250 Anti-Fraud Club pieces as well. So if you want to support our work, that's the best way to do it. There's also a donation feature on that website as well, antifraudclub.com. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment down below. And now let's get into testifying in front of the Senate.
He is an independent journalist known for his on-the-ground investigations, which he publishes on his social media pages and the Anti-Fraud Club website. Mr. Shirley.
My name is Nick Shirley. I'm a 100% independent journalist who seeks each day to serve we the people of the United States with the mission to show the world the reality of things as they really are. America was built and created by strong men and women who loved America and never would have thought to rob, steal, or cheat from its very own citizens. Unfortunately, today, America's good faith has been abused by others, often foreigners who seek to harm, rob, and cheat America. Through my efforts, I've exposed billions of dollars of fraud and helped save America hundreds of billions for years to come. When we talk about fraud, we are talking about money that is being stolen from hardworking, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. This issue has nothing to do with political parties. No dollar says Republican or Democrat on it. When a fraudster commits fraud, he or she steals from all of us. Last December, I published a 43-minute-long video exposing widespread fraud in Minnesota. That video became one of the most viewed videos in internet history and gained over 4 billion views in just 7 days across all forms of media. The fraud was so obvious that the fraudsters weren't even trying to hide it. The infamous Quality Leering Center was born, and that video has become one of the most consequential videos in American history by the amount of legislation it has created. Since posting it, over 30 bills have been created and introduced in Congress regarding fraud. A new fraud task force has been created, and the Treasury is working on new systems to stop fraud at unprecedented levels. I helped ignite a war on fraud across the country. People often wonder how come this fraud became so big and how come it becomes so rampant? And the reason is because no one actually ever really looked into it. When Elon Musk offered to help by creating Doge, people burned his factories, bombed his cars, and politicians even celebrated his company's stock going down. Elon was right when he said the fraudsters complained the loudest. By exposing the fraud, I actually also exposed the politicians and media who worked for years to cover it up. Governor Tim Walz labeled my work as white supremacy and called me a far-right delusional conspiracy theorist. Meanwhile, he dropped out of re-election, and he even said he has ended his political career. Now, the highest government-funded daycare in Minnesota has pleaded guilty to daycare fraud, and the largest autism bust in American history has been exposed. Where is Tim Walz in the media now? It just so happens that over 80% of the fraud committed in Minnesota is by the Somali population. After Minnesota, I exposed widespread fraud in California within the daycare and hospice community, where an impossible 1/3 of Americans on hospice care were set to die in Los Angeles. Next day, the governor, Gavin Newsom, posted an AI-generated image of myself trying to mock and discredit my work. Only days later, he and his attorney general both tried to take credit for exposing the fraud. Now the attorney general's wife has created a bill that would make it criminal to expose fraud. The Stop Nick Shirley Act, also known as AB 2624, will help fraudsters cover up their crimes and prevent themselves from being exposed, specifically in immigrant communities. Politicians often use immigrant communities to commit fraud. Why would they allow this to happen? In California, Medi-Cal, their Medicaid program, has now more than doubled from $108 billion in 2022 to a proposed $22 $222 billion, while enrollment has only rose by less than 1%. The system is filled with bad actors and fraudsters. In New York City, government-funded adult daycares pay for elderly Koreans and Chinese to play ping pong and do tai chi at the taxpayers' expense. An impossible number of patients are registered, and those patients receive kickbacks for attending and signing up their friends. Over $2 billion has gone to these fraudsters at the taxpayers' expense. And I'm just one person doing the work of many people. If the government and media is not going to do their job to help America, it's the responsibility of strong men and women, however old they may be, to do it. I am doing it. Despite the threats and burdens that come, it must be done. I'm doing it with the help of everyday Americans.
No more buying expensive blood glucose test strips. No more enduring the daily pain of finger pricking. This portable home health monitor simply clips onto your finger to accurately
That government paid officials are supposed to do. And the media teams across the country have millions of dollars to do this, yet they don't look into this fraud. They've actually quite literally failed us. If we as Americans do not stand up to protect our country, we will lose our country. Fraud is so rampant in the United States, I could go to all 50 states and uncover millions of dollars of tax dollars being defrauded, wasted, and abused. It is my wish while sitting in front of you guys today that you take action and help Americans by cracking down on all the fraud and to simply put Americans first. Thank you.
Mr. Shirley, again, I commend you on your phenomenal journalism. Quite honestly, when I saw that happening, I go, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't my staff do those videos? Journalism is crucial to this. You're a partner in what we need to do. And it's only because of those videos that expose that we have any chance of trying to rein in this beast. But you mentioned the Stop Nick Shirley Act. What is that? I mean, can you describe that in greater detail?
Yeah, so that's a bill that's been created by Mia Bonta, the wife of the Attorney General of California. And the official title is AB 2624, and it's to make it essentially illegal to expose and to film outside of immigration support service providers. That means any entity that provides services to illegal migrants, whether that be healthcare or legal fees. If I were to go out and film a video in front of one of these locations, perhaps an NGO like Churla that's received over $80 million from the government, and they give me a piece of paper and they say, hey, you cannot publish that video. If that bill passes, it'll be illegal for me to.
So it really ought to be renamed the Protect Medicaid Fraudster Act. Would probably be a better description of that, correct?
Correct.
Why do you think you have such pushback from our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, from just the denigration here from the ranking member, from Governor Newsom? Why is that? You would think trying to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse would be a completely nonpartisan issue.
Because they quite frankly need the fraud. They actually need the fraud.
I want to run several questions past you, and I've got several big issues. But Shirley, how are you identifying initially what you're actually finding? Like, what's the tip that you're saying, I think there may be fraud there? How are you identifying that?
Yeah, a lot of it's I go through these databases and look for the largest amount of funding, and then also looking for the anomalies that come. For instance, in New York City at these adult daycares, there were 7,899 patients enrolled into an adult daycare, and they received $12.9 million. And I go to that daycare, there's only one floor, and it'd be quite frankly impossible to enroll that many patients into that daycare.
Yeah. So it's just going through the available public data on it.
Yes, and then also relying upon Americans. For instance, I learned about the Minnesota fraud from Minnesotans. I went there and they told me, hey, finally, you're here to make a video on the fraud. I said, well, what are you talking about? And they said, well, this fraud's happening, this fraud's happening. And so then after that, for 6 months, I looked for that information about the fraud.
Mr. Shirley, I'll start with you. The previous Controller General of the GAO had been in office since 2011. What were you doing in 2011?
Playing football and basketball.
And what grade were you in?
At that time, I was 9 years old. So.
9? Gotcha. So you were 9 years old, and this person served for 15 years in government. We have This idea that maybe we double down on that process that failed for 15 years, that somehow we'd be better off, and yet you went in at your risk and exposed fraud.
Okay, it looks like we have another new person in chat there. Our mods, Lady Ground. Is this Raul? Wait, I think you've been in here before, haven't you? I can't remember. It's been a while. You must be lurking like everybody else does. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Starfire. I don't know you changed it. All right. So yeah.
I'm going to take a different angle. How does it make you feel as somebody who's 25 years old to know that your generation is going to pay the bill for everything that's happened right now? We have $40 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
And yet your generation is going to pay the price.
Yeah, I think that's the sad thing is my generation's the one who's affected the most from this fraud and from the national debt. It's extremely hard for anyone my age to buy a home, even just to be able to accumulate the money to have a down payment inside your bank account. It's very, very hard. And so when you see a fraudster who literally opens up a Leering Center and they receive $1.9 million, and that was going on for years, and no one ever did anything. We had all this oversight. We had everyone knew about the fraud, but everyone was too afraid to talk about the fraud because of what would happen to them.
And what do you mean? What would happen to them? Is it impolite to say that somebody's defrauding the government because there's of some certain race or gender or national origin? Is that somehow racist to say you should not steal money from the federal government?
It's not racist, but politically, it can be seen as racist.
I don't know.
They may label you as Islamophobic or a racist, quite frankly.
Well, I think profiles encouraged wouldn't be something that would be written about the current members of the Democrat Party for sure. And because again, you think you would agree that they're just afraid of being labeled that way and that fear drives them away from even attending a hearing like today?
Stop calling me. You sound like a psycho. I swear to God.
I'm calling you to let you know that we're going to pay.
Yeah, definitely. And it's very sad to see that they put
that will be done.
that's their priorities, is to make sure that they're not labeled as a racist or Islamophobic for exposing fraud or for exposing what's happening inside a community. Quite frankly, they use the Somali population to commit the fraud. Ilhan Omar should be disgraced of what she did to the Somali population.
And when you look at people in your generation can't afford a car, can't afford a house, don't see how in the future you'd be able to retire with any kind of dignity, and yet somebody can break into our country illegally, be provided a luxury hotel room in New York, 3 meals a day, maid service once a week, free education, free healthcare. What goes through your head when you think about that?
Like, how does this happen? We're putting foreigners oftentimes above American citizens. And it's very, very sad to see.
YouTube journalist Nick Shirley's visit to the Quality Leering Center helped all of us leer how easy it is.
So we got 8 minutes and we got the hour of now that
is to get away with fraud in Minnesota. The Leering Center was given $10 million of taxpayer money to provide child care, yet Mr. Shirley's footage showed that there were not even any children present. Despite what we were able to see with our own eyes, Minnesota officials insisted that the Leering Center and other questionable child care centers exposed by Nick Shirley were, quote, operating as expected. And folks, that is exactly the problem. It's the grift that keeps on giving. You are called a, quote, delusional conspiracy theorist, end quote, by Minnesota Governor Walz and accused of, quote, grandstanding by the state's attorney general. And similarly, when you expose Medicare hospice fraud in California, Governor Newsom's office responded by tweeting, quote, Shirley is the fraud. So, Mr. Shirley, why do you think politicians are trying to stop people like you who are exposing corruption rather than those who are actually committing the fraud?
Well, first off, it's very sad that two governors of the United States would even post that about somebody who's exposing fraud. All I've done is try to help America, and I've done it. They quite frankly aren't. That's why they're so angry about it, because they actually rely upon the fraud in order to continue to push their agendas inside their states.
Right.
That's why they get so mad when the fraud gets exposed, because that money oftentimes goes back into the hands of not necessarily the politicians, but what fuels those politicians to be able to do what they want to do inside their state.
Right. And it's a sad state of affairs. But what we see every day, Washington is losing up to $521 billion to fraud every year. The offices of Inspector General have a combined yearly budget of nearly $4 billion. Similarly, GAO has an annual budget of more than $800 million. And I share that because they have hundreds of investigators and auditors at their disposal. Do you have billions of dollars at your disposal and endless resources to enable you to uncover fraud?
No, not at all. In fact, I have to spend tens of thousands of dollars just to stay safe now because of posts just like that from governors of the United States of America.
Exactly. And so with very little resources, you have been able to uncover fraud. And yet our federal government doesn't seem to be able to track it down.
I wanted this to be on the record. Never once has a Democrat politician ever congratulated me or said, thank you for exposing this, or even reached out to say, hey, maybe come check out what's happening inside of our state. They are quite frankly complicit in the fraud. And that's why none of them are here today. Like,
maybe
what is this?
Complicit, trying to cover up something, aiding and abetting,
100%.
promoting their own political careers over tax-paying, hardworking Americans.
Mr. Shirley, I just want to start with you. I, for my part, want to say thank you for the terrific work you've done on exposing fraud all across the country, nowhere more so than in the state of Minnesota. You know, it's a funny thing. Not long ago, the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota was sitting right where you're sitting, Keith Ellison. And I had a question or two for him about the fraud in that state. And he said to me that, I mean, nobody could have found it. I mean, he didn't know anything about it. You know, he was completely in the dark until it was all blown open, and there's just nothing that would have tipped him off. I find that interesting because, near as I can tell, I mean, you were a 24-year-old independent journalist. You had a camera and a list of public spending records, right?
Correct.
So if this fraud was so hard to find, how did you manage to find it when none of the public officials in Minnesota could find it?
I simply went to the locations of the layering centers and the daycares and asked to enroll a child, and there was no way to enroll a child into any of these daycares. In fact, there were no children to be seen anywhere.
So in other words, you asked a few questions and you looked. You actually looked to see if there was fraud.
Yes.
And you found it wide open everywhere, rampant.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
And a lot of the Medicaid programs inside of Minnesota, from the non-emergency vehicles, the transportation company.
You know, I find it so interesting because Keith Ellison, when he was Attorney General way back in 2018, 2019, I think we've got a poster to this effect, was actually told and had multiple referrals made to his office about fraud in some of the very programs that you looked at. I mean, this is years ago now. He had official referrals made to him. He said, I just couldn't find any evidence of the fraud. Do you think maybe there's a little bit of corruption at the governmental level in the state of Minnesota? I mean, is that just maybe a possibility? Maybe some of these guys are maybe on the take, you think? I mean, possible?
Yeah, it's not even maybe or possibly, it's a certainty.
Yeah, I would say so too, and I can prove it to you. Keith Ellison, that guy, after overlooking $250 million in fraud, he took $10,000 in campaign contributions from the very people who were committing the fraud, who came to see him in his office, asked him to please get state investigators off of their backs, which he did, asked him to shut down the investigations, which he helped with, offered to give him money, which he accepted. I mean, I think that's the answer as to why can't any of these people find the fraud? Because they're getting paid by the fraudsters. And here you are, 24 years old, got
Amen to that. He said correctly on that.
a camera, got the public records, ask a few questions, and it's everywhere to be seen. I mean, this kind of corruption, and it's what, sadly, the Democrat Party wants to bring to this country all across America. I don't know why guys like Ellison are not being prosecuted, I have to tell you. And he sat there and lied under oath right where you're sitting now. I asked him why he took this money. He said, I didn't take a dime. He took $10,000. It's on the record. I just want to commend you for what you've done.
We didn't talk about potentially the foreign organization of this, correct? I mean, $700 million in cash flowing out of the Minneapolis airport back to countries in Africa. Have either of you gentlemen kind of investigated the foreign sourcing or an organization of a lot of this fraud? I mean, we're opening it up to foreign governments to fund their own operations.
Well, yeah, it's been proven that a lot of the money in suitcases that left Minnesota went back into the hands of people inside Somalia. And for instance, in New York City, where I just did an expose exposing this adult daycare fraud, nobody at these daycares actually knows who the owner is. A lot of them had just been hired within the past month. It's in Miami, you have the Cuban government running these DME companies that are fleecing and quite literally looting from Medicaid. A lot of foreign governments have infiltrated our Medicaid because it's so simple and so easy to defraud.
By the way, we know it's $700 million because government watched it go out. They let it go. They didn't even put the IRS on the case. It's truly remarkable what we're allowing to happen here. So again, Mr. Chairman, I commend you, like Senator Ernst did, for holding this hearing, and Ashley Moody. This is an incredibly important hearing, and it speaks volumes that only the ranking member showed up to denigrate Mr. Shirley's efforts. Quite honestly, that was why he showed up, and not one of them are here talking about these hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars worth of fraud that we can't allow to continue, because we are mortgaging your future. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that was a good one there, you guys. All right, we're going to give Nellen now for an hour, and I'll try to get Starfire unlocked. I don't know, someone made an accidental push the wrong button, I think. Oh, you have your, no, you didn't, it was a mistake, Starfire. Sorry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wacky Wednesday already.
No, Tim, by mistake.
My goodness, the week that was and is and still
Everything's
is
okay.
happening. It is happening and happening and happening. So welcome everybody. This is, as I said, one of those mind-blowing weeks, isn't it? It's like high expectations. I hope you all enjoyed Holly's show. It's great to be back. And of course, as I said, there's quite a few things that I'm sure all of you would like to have your questions answered. A short minute or two to go. We are going to focus a little bit on the Iraqi news today, only because it can substantiate some of the things that I said on Holly's show. And not only that, if you haven't had a chance to go back and have a listen to part 2 of the Canadian Boys, we certainly touched on things that connected us with, of course, the currency revaluation, what's going on in that country, a little bit more about the history of Lebanon, but it all ties in together with this bit of news coming out today. So let's hook right in. The CBI. So let's talk about the Prime Minister's visit, shall we? Okay, so the Prime Minister of Iraq, of course, has arrived and has many, many meetings. And of course, he states that Iraq stands today. Now, how interesting. Mel talked about standing up, and he happens to use the word Iraq stands today before a different stage. Now, you have to make yourself realise, ladies and gentlemen, that the wording is so important, okay? Before a different stage. We're at a new stage, ladies and gentlemen. Understand that. It is a new movie. so to speak, which is also a new timeline. But anyway, seeking to build a strong sovereign state. And we're going to get into a little bit more about that because, as I said on Holly's show, there's substantiation going on right across the board. And today, or yesterday, Iraq talks about their strong sovereign state. They're free from corruption and enjoy a robust and sustainable economy. I think that pretty much sums it up, ladies and gentlemen. If you're wondering if the RV has happened, I think it's happening. I think it already has happened. We just have to wait for it to all progress. But it was very interesting. I don't know if anyone noticed, but the Iraqi Prime Minister, as he boarded off the plane, geez, it looked like a silver tie. Just saying. Anyway, so very important speech that he makes statements. Of course, what else is happening in Iraq? The new oil ports, which we, as I said, the boys and I from Canada were touching on the new ports and the importance of ports and watching the water. The new oil ports in Iraq and Syria connecting together. They're avoiding the Strait of Hormuz. And just as we talked about, as I said, on the Canadian Boys show as well, we did touch on that. The Central Bank of Iraq, they are allowing banks to disperse and deposit customers' incoming dollar cash deposits. That is announcing, ladies and gentlemen, that they are officially on that quantum system. They are ready to go. It hasn't been said before, like in that mannerism. Okay, so they talked about that they were complying to certain things and allowing banks to get access. Now they're talking about the customers, and I touched on this in Holly's show, where we talk about, we saw the wholesale distribution, which is that central banking digital currency coming in, and then now we're seeing it come to us, we the people. So when they start talking about sovereign wealth and the CBI is talking about the customers, okay, this is that personal banking access. So we've gone from the construction of the new quantum system, and it's now coming to us, we the people. Get excited about that. Remain positive. Okay, so that was very big news coming out of them. American companies are ready to invest and conduct business in Iraq. This is another huge indicator. When businesses go into any country, any foreign country, there has to be stability, and there also has to be strength in their currencies. So this is where those contracts or those rates between the two countries come into play now. All right? So that was some more big news. America is ready to invest in Iraq. Well, many other countries are as well. And we're talking big companies, by the way, not little companies. Talking about anti-corruption, of course, the corruption campaign continues, not just in Iraq, but I am seeing this right across the board. Corruption and anti-money laundering, all these exercises are going across. They are eliminating. What was interesting with this one in Iraq is that they touched and reached on military institutions. Okay, so these are your military banks, so to speak, after officers are arrested in suspicious activity involving billions of dollars of dinars. Like I said, I think the cleanup is going to continue. And like I said, I'm seeing this right across the board, not just in Iraq. Let's also have a focus when we sort of lean towards the payments. We talked about on Holly's show regarding the governments being funded, so to speak, in the tier one sector of the GCR, so to speak. Well, the Head of Wisdom movement in Iraq also comes out. And this is one of those confirmations, as I said, that I want to be hearing across the world. So whichever country you are in, make sure that you listen to what people are saying, okay? The Head of the Wisdom movement comes out and he says that the PM's visit to the US is evidence of Iraq's commitment to improving its international relationship. Just remember, the Iraqi dinar is going to be the father of the dollar. He also goes on and further speaks of compensation to the Matthias. Now, the Matthias means different things in different cultures and different language and this, that, and all the rest of it. But it basically tells me that this is compensation. So this is like them paying out their native families. Isn't that interesting? Another confirmation. Okay? So understand that money and funds are set up. They're obviously getting ready to move because the head of the Wisdom movement has come out and said that they are talking about the actual movement of these money to the Matthias, and I'm sorry about that. Okay, so we expect to see some more confirmations coming out, even from our government payouts as well. So that is all happening in Iraq as well. What was also interesting was the big meeting, of course, with the secretary meeting in Washington with the Iraq Prime Minister. They come out and they're also talking about, we see that the security situation in Iraq has improved sufficiently to shift the partnership from military to economic. They're moving the power from military to economic. That means Iraq is sovereign and that they no longer require military power, and that the economic, meaning them, the citizens. I think so, ladies and gentlemen. I think so. Okay, the World Trade Organization meetings are also being finalised. Again, as I said on Holly's show, there's many signings that have to be done this week. Understand that. So the World Trade Organization understand that this is also working alongside of BRICS and the BRICS payment system. So the meetings are a requirement for the RV to occur, so keep an eye out on that. What also is very important, as I said, as we focus on not just Iraq today, but let's go to the Seven Kingdoms. The Prime Minister of Iraq has now officially received his invitation from the King of Jordan to visit the kingdom. If you understand history and you understand the true meaning behind the kingdoms, this, ladies and gentlemen, is proof that this is actually happening as we speak. He received his official invitation to the King of Jordan. Very interesting times ahead, as I said. We look forward to seeing what's going to transpire in the coming days and weeks. The 19th is still looking extremely strong. We also need to look at July the 16th, where the Liberty Bell, the 1 ounce gold coin, is valued at $19,600 US and will be released at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time on the 16th. Keep an eye out on the movement of gold, ladies and gentlemen. The silver certificates have been paid. Just putting that out there too. Anyway, what else has happened? Daylight savings has now been introduced as permanent daylight, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, the timelines have shifted. There is more daylight. We are moving from darkness to light. I don't like saying darkness. It just doesn't sit with me. Anyway, so daylight savings, good, bad. But if you're in the right timeline and you're in the positive timeline, then time means really nothing. So having more daylight is still the same amount of daylight. So yes, anyway, In the digital assets, thank you to Love Trumpy for posting this one because it's got numbers written all over it. It's got a 47, the 47th president. $4.7 quadrillion. Quad is 4. All 4 corners of the globe, ladies and gentlemen. 114 trillion is 11.4. The first arrest is expected to happen, or has it already happened? And this is just a marker to confirm that it's done. 150 countries and 25 billion messages. There's plenty of 55555s in there, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting enough, I picked up my phone this morning and I had a 555, so that's really cool. Let there be light, not darkness no more. Stay positive, ladies and gentlemen. This is the rebirth of your new world. And now it's over to you, ladies and gentlemen, for Q&A. If God's Elf could please unleash the next or the first person to come up. I see Ms. Z, and I also saw another person up there that had their hand up earlier. So God's Elf, it's over to you.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Ms. Z. Ms. Z, you have a question for Mel?
Hi, Mel. Nice to talk to you again. I wanted to set up a time with you.
Yes.
I didn't want to take a lot of time here, but I needed to set up a time. I don't have an email address. I don't know how to do that. So if you can post that or send it, I would greatly appreciate it because I think it's a little bit important for me.
That's okay.
So if that's okay, but I'm so glad to see you again and all these wonderful news that are coming up. I'm getting a little bit antsy with all these things that are coming. So, and I've been following following you with Jesus, I forgot her name, Ciliano and Holly. Yeah. So I do have some questions that I wanted to follow up with you on that based on what I'm doing down here. So is that okay?
Of course it is, darling. Certainly is.
Okay.
So what I'll get you to, that's okay. What I'll get you to do, if you are a subscriber, I could probably find you after the show. What I will do is ask you to send me a private message. And if you have got a pen and paper, I can give that to you right now. And you can set up, at, you know, the little at thing?
Yes.
At Mel Mica, M-E-L, M for Melissa, E-L-M-I-C-A. And you can private message me and we'll set up a suitable time with each other. And you can get to FaceTime me for at least an hour, hour and a half.
Oh, okay. So let me repeat it. At M-E-L as in Larry, M as in mother, I as in Ines, C as in Charles, A as in apple.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you, darling. So
I'll do
do that.
You send me a message and I'll send you a voice message back confirming that it's me. And then we'll chat.
Thank you, girl. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Talk to you soon.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Absolutely. So, is there anyone else who would like to ask a question? Geez, I thought with all the stuff that I threw out there with Holly's show and Finance Friday show, there should be heaps of questions today. Someone did ask me regarding about the app platforms that we mentioned. The one here in Australia, it was called Beam. It's a B for Bob, E-E-M. That is your FPOS platform app. I wouldn't call it a quantum app, but it's linked to the quantum system. But don't be confused when people sort of misconstrued all of that as well. We are going to be I am still working in the background regarding the UK. So there will be a very big UK special, as I have done previously for Canada and that. I will have all the links for the UK. Please make sure that you utilize those links for your country. So you just type in what is equivalent to what is in your country. So regardless of whether it's for the UK or not, as I said, I like to try and do something special for all of that. And of course, you know, we can touch on
we got 18 minutes in.
digital ID. We can do whatever
40
you would like to speak about today, ladies and gentlemen. So please put your hand up, ask a question. We've still got plenty of time today. So God's Alf, is there anyone else with a question?
There was a Christy that had her hand raised. I'm not sure if she's still in the crowd. Christy, are you still here? Okay, I guess not. All right, well, I have a question for you now while we're waiting for everybody to raise their hand. Captain Powell has made a promise talking of Iran being subservient to Basel III. They were Basel III compliant for central bank. Well, that Basel is actually in Switzerland. So they were subservient to Switzerland. And I've heard a lot of confusion about that. Do you have any information on that you can share with people?
That's right. So there is always confusion when it comes to Basel III. It was introduced through, of course, the Swiss bank. And this is where people still have this defining, I hope I answer it because you were cutting out. So I'm hoping I'm putting all this together now. The Basel III is actually Basel 3.4, which they now class as Basel IV. Okay. And this was basically set up so as the banks have to hold 60 to 80% in actual physical assets. And it is an upgrade, I guess you can say, of the Bretton Woods conglomerate. And yes, it was done through the Swiss Basel, but it is a compliance. And again, as I said, when you go into a new world or you all have to be on the same level playing field, they utilised what structures were already there. They've adjusted it to make sure that it is based on the messaging system, that being ISO 222 compliant. Everything has to be running simultaneously on the same system. If there is to be a level playing field, we have to take out what we thought we knew about Basel. Oh, it's Swiss and it's corrupt and all the rest of it. This is a compliance, and this is a very good compliance that all banks, including your standard banks and everything else, must hold 60% of actual assets to maintain the integrity of people's currencies. It has to be backed by an asset, and that's basically what Basel III is. Regardless of whether it's Swiss Basel or not, it's irrelevant. They use the structures to restructure, and as DJT used to always say, when he was buying hotels, he restructured them and created a new business. And this is no different, ladies and gentlemen. It's the same with the World Economic Forum. It's no longer the World Economic Forum. It is called the International Forum. United Nations will be called Nations United. They are being restructured. It's the same with Basel III. So there you go. Anyway, I hope that answered that question, God's Alf. Like I said, the destruction, the noise is going on in the background. It's sometimes a bit tricky to hear. So, but anyway, who else is up? I see D-Mum popped her hand up. Is she next?
Tom, New Jersey is next. Tom, New Jersey.
Tom. Hello, Miss Tom. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am all the better for hearing you. What have you got for me today? I'm curious to know.
So last week you spoke a little bit about Web 3.0, which I understand is the next phase of the internet. It uses blockchain, decentralized technology. It's secure, and there'll be little or no third-party surveillance. It's a cleaned up internet, right? No porn. It removes all the crap from the internet that we no longer want to see, right? So my question is, how is it going to be implemented? Is it going to be a new app, a new browser? Will it instantly replace Web 2.0, or will they be active simultaneously? How do you see this implementation coming about?
Well, I think very good question. You stay right there, mister, because you always intrigue me with one question, then we sort of lead into another. I think it's going to be an integration as things occur. We're starting to see different applications are having what we call glitches in the matrix. And I think as they connect one, they'll connect the other, they'll do some testing, they'll go back. Eventually,
can someone find out what time he's supposed to speak? Because RSB it says schedule 7:30. I got it set for 8 o'clock. I hope he doesn't come on before 8 o'clock.
eventually this will go away. All the stuff like the porn and all the disruptions. Again, there's always going to be disruptions or interruptions as we implement this. This is your new World Wide Web, so to speak. So I think very slowly it will be integrated. I believe it started and it has gone live, and eventually over a period of time you will start to see less and less of that old system going away. I just saw a link actually from Flare Network that I just posted as I was coming on over in the digital assets, where Flare connects everything as well. And Flare said the last 4 years, and I automatically went to, this is not a 4-year election, and then we've got election fraud coming up as well. But my point being is as I said, yes, the Web 3.0 has gone live. It will be
no spots tonight.
As everything starts to connect, I think it'll go instantaneous.
We got 35 minutes.
Honestly, as I said, they've got to test it, make sure it's doing what it is supposed to do, and yeah, let it roll. So, but yeah. Anyway, Tom, what else what's troubling Tom?
Okay, so you don't. I guess I saw it a little differently. I saw it being rolled out after the EBS. So once they potentially got rid of the mainstream media, they would bring us into the new systems, and potentially maybe the part of that is Web 3.0, that they would introduce that after. And because I've seen a whole bunch of upgrades that Windows 11 has been pushing. Almost every week now they're pushing major updates. And then, previously we saw with the dark web used Tor, right, for access. So would they get rid of the dark web because it's been used so much for nefarious?
Now I just saw showing 8:30 his speech is. So I guess we'll be okay, I think. I got it set for 8.
Various purposes? Just your thoughts there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's go back to the EBS. So here's another perspective on that, Mr. Tom, because for the EBS to operate across the globe, it all has to be on the same system. Does that make sense, Tom?
It does.
It does. So as I have previously said, I think I may have touched on it in Holly's show. I can't remember because I do so much talking in different groups now. I have said before, when I look at just Australia alone, now Australia never ever had an Australian alert system previously. It's just been released. It was released in June the 26th, and they're going to be doing testing on the 27th of July. Ooh, 27. Oof, God. Now, for that system to operate and function for what we believe to be an international EBS, then that web system must be fully functional for that to occur if it's going to go global, so to speak. So that's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be released, and then it's going to unleash itself through the EBS system. I think that's how it's going to unroll. That kind of makes a little bit more logical sense for me. As I said, does that help? So let's go to, and what was the other thing? The mainnet?
The dark web. We talked about the dark web.
I can't even read my own writing. Oh my gosh, I lack of sleep.
We've seen
because
how we've seen how that's been used for all kinds of nefarious activities, from gun trafficking, child trafficking, drugs.
Absolutely.
Everything is on the dark web.
So let's go take a step back from here then, Tom, because let's go back and have a look at some of the stuff coming out of Uganda and some of the stuff coming out of Ukraine and Lebanon. All right. Now these, of course, are your three of your major, Colombia as well. Let's throw in that as well, Venezuela's. But we're all focused on the bombing. But there was an interesting article that came out, and I think it was based around Ukraine or Lebanon. Can't remember now. Double guessing myself here. But they explained to us in this article that there is going to be new energies, new internet, this, that, and all the rest of it. That's eliminating that dark web that you've just mentioned. So understand that it was the web that connected all of this sex trafficking and the child trafficking. It was. And that was also connected, let us remind you too, that it was connected to that nefarious Bitcoin. It was part of it. That's why the World Economic Forum introduced Bitcoin. That was actually, should have been XRP many, many years ago. But because XRP is not hackable, whereas they created the hashtag, which created this dark web, and when they released www. to all of us, that was all connected through the governments. These were all government identities that used Bitcoin. That was your dark web. So as I said, as they start putting up new energies, new railway systems, new communication systems, yes, I believe that is going to take away that hold of that old web. So it's like unveiling that web, replacing it with a new web, and they will test that. And that's why I say these EBS testing that's going on. So think of it in this perspective as well. If you're having EBS testing in your country, it means that is that Web3 coming into play. And then I think eventually, after a period of time, we will actually start to see the actual full-blown EBS is coming, because that has to clear that new web. Because if you're going to keep the old web, then they're going to know when this is going to happen. This EBS is not going to happen when we think it's going to happen, and nor do we want the nefarious people to know when it's happening. And they used to know because of the hashtag system that was in there. So again, I think the Web3 has to be fully implemented as a marker before the EBS even comes up, because they have to clean all of that dark web. The old web has to be completely gone. And that includes, funds being transferred nefariously is still going on between banks and governments and what have you. But Iraq certainly put their hand up and said they're not putting up with any of that anymore. So that's a good thing. So as I said, as we start to see these countries talking about sovereignty, sovereign wealth, and that we see Lebanon and Ukraine talking about new infrastructure, new communication towers,
we're about halfway
I think that's
through now.
eliminating that dark web. So I'm damn excited right now, to be honest.
tonight.
I'm very, very positive.
Okay, just one last thing on Web3 that I want your thoughts on. So blockchain forms the foundational ledger of Web3, enabling transparent, immutable, secure transactions. So do you believe Web3 will have a built-in wallet ledger, and where it will be able to replace our biometric wallets, where it'll all be integrated within Web3?
It'll be all integrated into Web3, but your biometrics doesn't go away for quite some time. There's no replacement for biometrics, bro. It is what it is.
You couldn't use like a fingerprint or a face.
Well, that is biometrics.
Right, but you wouldn't need a biometric. But you wouldn't necessarily need a biometric wallet, a hardware wallet. It would replace the hardware wallet.
No, you don't. No, my apologies. I'm glad you verified that. Yeah. So it's like you can pick up your phone now and it will automatically basically do a transaction before you even put the transaction through. They're already doing that. So you don't
So
need a
we'll
hard
be
wallet.
right. So we'll be transitioning away from hard wallets, and it'll be all integrated into the Web3 OS.
Yes,
which will greatly simplify.
it will. But it's this transition that we have to get through right now. That's the difficult part. But yes, once Web3 is initiated and completely live, there will be no more glitches. Because we often sit there, Tom, and we often ask, why are these things still going on in the background with banking? And then I had to sit down over the weekend and really go through that and nut it out. And I think Web3 is what we're waiting for.
I hope so, because the crypto is still the wild, wild west, and there's so much scams going on, and there really needs to be trust in the systems. And I think a lot of people just do not trust it, and for good reason, right? Their history has not been good, so.
No. So yeah, look, I agree. As I said, as things come to hand, like I said, I'm forever monitoring all of that. And as I said to people the other day in the digital assets channel, if you're still not comfortable with it, please don't do it, Tom, because if they're still not comfortable with it, it creates anxiety, it creates confusion, and sometimes we make errors. Untold errors because of that confusion and uncertainty. So it's best to stay out until it is simplified and, risk it for the biscuit, So, but yeah, there's still a lot going on, but people will make their choices, and that's part of their great awakening. And it's a tough one. It really, really is, but I believe it will be simplified. So
I hope so, because you want widespread adoption. You want the grandmothers and grandfathers to be able to leverage the technology without having to go through, all the nuances of the hardware wallets and so forth. Because I think that's really, there's some, but I think there's few and far between of the older generation that is going to be willing to accept it. And I would hate to see them lose the benefits of, what the crypto technology will bring.
Yeah, and look, and rightly so, it reminds me too that there was a big article out of Australia too regarding integrating the superannuation through Centrelink and that as well here in Australia. So people I know are still having issues even in the States regarding their 401ks. Looks like they're going to transition that here in Australia. And I'll be keeping a very close eye on that one as well, because I think that's going to maybe get a little messy for those who in that retirement age and trying to secure their 401ks here in Australia, superannuation. So we will definitely, we're looking for a smooth transition, Tom. Let's get through
They're the most vulnerable, so we have to protect them.
They certainly are. They certainly are. And technology is the hardest thing for most of us at the best of times. But as you get more mature in age, it's a little unfair, to say the least, and the uncertainty of all of it is still a bit daunting. So we will do our very best. My pleasure, sir. Absolutely. And it's thank you very much to Tom from New Jersey. He is an absolute legend, and it's always good to have a little conversation with him to get full clarity on the questions that have been asked. God's Alp, who was up next?
D-Mom.
Hi, Mel. Can you hear me?
I absolutely can. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, yeah. Good. Yeah.
I have... I'm sorry, you're what?
Oh, I'm just sucking on one side of my mouth. I still got a broken tooth. And I was like, I just went to...
Fun.
Like when you move your jaw, and I thought, oh, geez, that looked like on camera like I was doing something, one of my facial things, but it's actually the tooth. It's a filling that's cracked, a filling.
Ooh.
So it's nasty.
Yeah,
so
that's
if I
painful.
screw my face up, I do apologise. It's not a com.
Well, that actually goes into what I wanted to talk about. Everybody's all worried about the RV and, you know, coming into all this money, but without your health, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you still don't have a life. And I just wanted to let everybody know, I think personally that some of the medical advancements are being leaked out and are being used, because I have two very dear friends who 5 months ago were both diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. They were told they had, 4 to 6 months tops, and that was with treatment. So they both went in and had surgery and had to have the colostomy bags, the ostomy bags. And they were told that after chemo, they would then have a scan and see if surgery could even be done, or if this even worked, because they were both so far bad. Well, they just both finished their fourth round of chemo, and both of them, they're treated by totally separate doctors, were told that they are going to go in for a scan next week. And then they're also both scheduled already for surgery the first week in August. And they're most likely going to have their osteos reversed. Now, my thing is, how can they tell if initially they were saying, they had to do the scan to see if it was even going to be a possibility? Well, now they're already scheduling them for surgery. So I'm thinking maybe this scan that they're having next week is the one you've been talking about. So they kind of already know what they're going to expect.
Well, I was talking to a lady who messaged me, and I was catching up on some messages just yesterday, and she sent me some messages regarding some similar story. So forgive my emotions right now as you were speaking. And I said to the girl, as I'm reading this particular article, although it says medbed technology, they were describing that specifically of that 70 MRI, that scan. So as you were saying that, like I said, I don't want to think that I'm right, but boy, oh boy, D-Mum, I have been pretty much on the mark across the board. And when I think of cancers, I also think of my friend Chatty from Canada, who had lymphatic cancer, who has had chemo just recently, but he also incorporated a very strict protocol whilst he was having that, because he knew with the lymphatic cancer, it is a little bit different. But he'd seen someone else going through it and he knew how to fight it, and he's just been cleared. Now, I should ask Chatty as well how he went through those scans. And as I said, ladies and gentlemen, I put my heart on my sleeve every single day for all of you. And I can assure you, when I release this 7T scan, I just know in my heart of hearts that it has to be something, D-Mum. And I'm so grateful that people like yourself, like I said, put the information aside, okay? File it if it doesn't suit you right now. File it. But you've come back and you brought it up again. And Trisha, I think it was Trisha and I were going through some articles of medbed technology. And I said to Trisha, this sounds exactly like a 7T scan.
About 19 minutes.
So D-Mum,
19.
I appreciate you, because like I said, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Nothing in this whole thing is ever what we see it to be. We know that the ones that are off planet are there. We know they're real, but we have to deal with what we have right here in front of us. And I have said time and time again, I don't deem to be 100% correct, but boy, oh boy, the way you explained it and what I went through yesterday with Trisha, you can bet your bottom dollar, D-Mum, that I think you might be right. If they're already scheduling that for the 1st of October, I mentioned a short time ago without telling you the 27th of July is also going to be another marker of release of something. We saw on the 4th of July, not that people got upset because nothing happened and this, that, and all. Well, it did happen and it's still happening. These are happening in the background. Please remain positive, ladies and gentlemen, because as you just heard from D-Mum, not from me, from a follower, a strong follower of what I come here to do, was my mission to help you find what you're looking for. And D-Mum, thank you so much for that. Appreciate you muchly. I really, really do. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, take it with a grain of salt. If you don't agree with me about the 70s, and so be it, go find it. Wait for whatever it is you're waiting for. But I know in my heart of hearts it has to be something, because it shows us all the technology that they talk about in the Medbec technologies on the Telegram channels. It is absolutely identical to what I have found and what I have tried to show all of you. So thank you very much, D-Mum. I truly appreciate you. God's Elf, who's up next, darling?
Karen S. Karen S.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine. Hey.
You have to hold your button down, darling.
About a week or a week and a half ago, we were going to schedule a private chat, and I reached out to you, but you had a meeting that you had to attend. And since then, I do not know how to reschedule with you so that we could do that, as we were going to about close to 2 weeks now.
Oh, is it really? Okay, Karen, I'll contact you straight after the show, darling. If you are free for half an hour or so, I will be able to catch up with you, darling. All right?
Okay.
I do apologise for that. Yes, I did have to reschedule. I do remember that. So I do apologise for that.
And
So
when you say to call, or you're going to call me, I'll wait for you to reach out, because you have
no,
to.
if I can't, no, you have to call me. That's what the issue was. You have to call me. But just allow 5 minutes after the show, I have a meeting with my admins about the show. So wait for about 10 minutes, and then you ring me on Telegram through, you just hit the little phone up the top, because I will not ring you. You have to ring me. Okay?
Thank you for the question. Okay.
No problem, darling. Too easy. God's Elf. Who else have we got? Oh, Archer.
TBJ02. TBJ02.
Good evening.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. I wanted to clarify something that you said right at the beginning. Did you say that the RV has already happened or may have happened?
Did I say that? Of course I did. Absolutely. I think it's an operation. I did say that. Yes, I did.
So the question I have for you, and probably the answer I've already received, if all these U.S. companies are meeting with the Iraqi delegation here, I think that most of them are going to be down in Houston. How can they be looking at trade deals without knowledge of the revalued dinar?
Okay, because those contracts were done many years ago. And when they were setting up, say, Siemens, for instance, for the electricity and all that sort of stuff, those contracts were already set in place a long time ago. And they were told that when certain things occurred, then they would come in and do the work that required them to do, which they have done a lot of.
Thanks, Michael.
And then eventually they would get paid. And now they're
So
about
they're
to get.
So they're going to get paid in revalued dinar?
Yes.
I see your head going up and down affirmatively, so that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. That's correct.
The other question,
yes.
About 15
the other
left.
question I have for you is, there's some discussion, and I'm not sure if I believe this, that Iraq at some point in the future may be given power over or jurisdiction of Iran. Have you heard that?
Yes, that is correct.
Is that do you see that as a real possibility or kind of a?
Well, I think it's more Iran. I think it's going to be more of a case of Iran taking, substantiating over Iraq.
So kind of a merger of sorts?
It'll be a merger, yeah. It'll be the strengthening. It basically comes back down to those trade agreements that we're talking about. What it will do, it will strengthen the Middle East. We'll have to keep an eye on TBJO2 with regards to the Rial and the Rial, and Oman takes a very good precedence in this as well. And you'll find Kuwait will come back to Iraq as well. So they will merge basically into one. That will also include Lebanon, and I think Egypt will maybe later on with Egypt, but Iran will basically tie in with Iraq, and then they go from there to form the actual kingdom, so to speak.
The last question I have for you about Trump's speech tomorrow night. He's going to be talking about election fraud. Do you believe that is going to set a chain of events in action? With whatever he says?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. So let's go back to 2020. What happened in 2020? The
Massive
pandemic.
fraud.
Massive fraud. But what else happened? The pandemic.
They were rounding up a lot. They were rounding up a lot of bad guys during the 2020 during the COVID scam.
There you go, right there, sunshine. This is the theatre is going to be the 2020 election. We already know it was fraud. Okay, what will he announce? That is the sovereignty for all those who are waking up.
I'll be doing a speech tonight.
Okay. And I have one last thing. Because somebody talked about alternative cures, and I could see you were very emotional about that. There is a company in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, that has a device called, it's a device by a company called Soltec, SOLTEC, Soltec Health. And what it does, it spins magnetic magnets. And what it helps you do is helps you increase the amount of delta sleep that you get each night. As you get older, and some of us got a lot older today, the delta waves help your body heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so with my understanding of the med beds, it's electromagnetism. Soltec is magnetism. And I've been using it for about 4 years, and I have not been sick once in the last 4 years. I have a lot more energy. My body is healing itself, and it's absolutely amazing. And that's all I have.
And I'm glad you bring that up. So SOL, S-O-L, is your soul, is your magnet. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a multipolar energy shift. It is not just about the magnets that we're talking about in these, this technology is also a polar shift. It's positive and negative. It's also got to do with timeline shifts. So what TBJ was also talking about is gaining back some time. When we talk about med beds, we often talk about age regression, and we all want to look younger, feel younger. But in actual fact, what he is explaining is also the quality of sleep that we have, and sleep therapy as well as magnets and things like that as well. I want you to think of Soltech. If you Google that, yes, that is part of the new technologies. It is multipolar. As Briggs talks about quite often, multipolar trades is also connected, but it's also a multipolar shift when it comes to magnets. And like I said, north is south, south is north. When you have two timelines come together, okay, it's a multipolar connection, and eventually they cross over. It's an energy and a frequency, ladies and gentlemen. Soltech is one of them. So thank you, TBJ02. Go look it up, ladies and gentlemen. It is very much connected to some of the new technologies coming out. And occasionally you'll see one in amongst all the news. And I've been posting this to share and show you that there was an article just the other day regarding cancers, and a berry, a local berry in one of the countries, is said to be far greater and more powerful to cure cancers than the actual scientific research that they have today. So please keep an eye out on those articles that we throw in there as well, just random articles. Okay, so it's not always about the news, although we do get a lot of news come through. We also need to stay and remain focused on our healing and our health, as Dean Mum touched on as well. All right, God's Elf, who else we got?
Archer 1111. Archer 1111.
I have been thinking about you.
How you doing, Miss Mel?
I am doing superb. All the better for hearing you. I was thinking about you the other day. I have a very big contact that I need to pass over to you as well. They were asking some questions, and I said, I have the right person for you. So, yes, I will catch up with you as well. So.
Yes, I'm still doing the hand holding, starting with a beginner class this weekend.
That's
so
okay.
Last minute people. Let me know. Send them over.
We should get together actually and do an extra special show with Archer 1111, and we'll go through quite a few things as well, my darling. I've got some big updates for you, a big contact, and we'll catch up.
Well, I'll be happy to help any way I can.
Thank you, my darling.
Question to you is, I saw on Twitter, and I'm seeing some information out that the Treasury sets to do some buying XRP on August 1st. Have you heard anything about that?
Oh,
Forgive me if
don't
you
know.
mentioned it and I haven't heard it.
Don't know a lot about it, but you've got to certainly ask the question: is why are they doing that? Again, it's going to be token against gold, Archer. I would, at a very warm guess, would say that it is to link up with to link it up with the gold and the tokenization. So,
right. Well,
we'll have to.
They did, designate it. I'm sorry. I think I got a little lag here. They did designate it as a Treasury Reserve asset. So, it makes sense that they would be buying some, perhaps, right? Although a lot of people in the comments and everything on these posts, they're saying, they're not they can't buy it. And like, if it's an Treasury Reserve, they can buy those assets. So that's pretty good what I'm seeing on it. But I just wasn't sure if you had heard that buzzing around, and thought that was some interesting information. It was the first time I heard of it, so I wanted to share and get your feedback on it.
Yeah. Look, what they will also do, you soon find that they'll buy a portion of XRP. They'll also buy some Bitcoin as well. They'll certainly dip into XLM, not as much, but you'll certainly find that Bitcoin, as I said, comes into play. Just remembering that, of course, they already know that XRP was the original concept. Therefore, they will purchase Bitcoin as well. This is to, as I said, substantiate their asset listings. As I said, I believe Bitcoin is now an asset. and it is running on the Stellar network. So it all starts to come together. All starts to come together.
Yes, it does. Well, I just sent you the post I was talking about, so if you wanted to check it out, and just reach out to me whenever you need some help. Glad to help.
All right, darling, will do. Thank you so much. So, God's Elf, do we have time for one last question? If anyone else is out there who would then like to ask a question.
Well, we had Dee Dee that was next, but I don't see that person anymore. Dee Dee. And then we had a J. I don't see that person either. Dee Dee or J. All right. Well, hey, Jim O, let's go with you.
Beautiful. Jim O.
Jim O.
Hi, Mel.
Yep. Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm awesome for hearing your voice. Go for it.
Just came
what
out
are we going to talk about?
All right. I've got a double header. I want to know, number one, are there any dentists out there that aren't using the MNRA in their shops? And number two question is, will med beds grow teeth?
Yes, but you don't need a bed to grow teeth either. They will grow.
How do you?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm being a pesty little pest here with this down tooth, I can tell you. I want the filling to come out at the same time, so I'm like, oh, it's really cutting into me gum here. But
yeah,
if there is what we call holistic dentists. Okay, so holistic dentists use other alternatives. So I wouldn't have an injection last time I went to the dentist. I actually got them to just numb it with the numbing gel. Even though there's stuff in the numbing gel, I said, no, I'm not having a needle. So I just got them to numb it, and then they pulled it. Okay? And they just did it really slowly. It was still painful, but I could bear it. I'm a tough girl. I'm a farm girl. I can handle it. As for the teeth, colloidal silver and things like that as well. I've been chewing on cloves, actual cloves themselves as well. That helps with pain and infections and stuff like that as well. And so holistic dentists is what you're looking for. And as I said, I'll do as much as I possibly can until I can A, afford one, and B, find one that can be gentle on my mouth.
Yes, thank you, Mel. Yes. Now, what about the med beds? Will they grow teeth?
Well, again, like I said, I think there's a whole procedure that has to happen. I believe they can. And as I said, now I'm going to go back to round about the late 1990s. We were growing hydroponics, okay? And I had a lady come to our hydroponic shop because we were growing the commercial lettuces and that, but we also had a hydroponic shop. And this lady had lost her leg in a motorbike accident, and she showed me the little stump where they took her leg off. She said ever since she's been taking colloidal silver, that her little stump has actually started to grow. So does the med bed help with that? I have heard that it does, but I think there's a lot of other things that have to be done before we get to that point where we throw ourselves in a med bed to have limbs and that coming into play. But my understanding is that the technology is there to grow a tooth or a limb. However, let's just take a deep breath and make sure that we do what we can to help ourselves before they start, bringing out that kind of technology. I think we have to do a lot more for ourselves as well. The J is in the house. Let's have one quick question before we head off, because I do have a call with Karen S immediately after J, Would you like to quickly, I heard you being called before, a quick last question and then we'll head out. Jay, you want to unleash yourself? Unmute yourself, darling? Nope. All righty. Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It has been an absolute honor. And
all right, you guys. Wow. A lot of important stuff there that Mel does. It was only an hour. It wasn't too bad. Normally it's an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I got one more 20-minute one I'm going to play, and then I'm going to play the short ones first. I'm going to save that last one, 20, for the last video. So I'm doing okay. Hopefully I can survive tonight for the big speech. So I got it scheduled for 8. We're going to do a lot of short ones here. We'll do Billy here in a minute. I want to get these other ones here. We haven't heard this guy here in a while.
The quantum physics piece of this. Now, in quantum physics, reality does not happen until you focus on it. See, in quantum physics, nothing is really there until you look at it. See, that's how the spirit works for the chosen ones. When you speak, pray, or believe, you actually cause things to take shape. You literally change what's possible just by you giving your attention to it. When you focus on healing, healing starts. When you declare your purpose, your path appears. This is not magic. This is quantum alignment. So that was number 1. Number 2 is that you are deeply connected to others, even if you don't see them. See, quantum physics says when 2 particles are connected, what happens to one instantly affects the other, no matter how far the distance is between them. This is why all the chosen ones around the world are feeling a shift right now. You may not know each other, but you're connected in the spirit. And when one wakes up, the others feel it. It is literally called in quantum physics, spiritual entanglement. Number 3, you carry multiple versions of yourself at the same time. See, in quantum physics, a particle can exist in 2 places at the same time until a decision is made. This is what it feels like when you're both wounded and powerful. You have inside of you the version of you that suffered and the version of you that is rising, both at the same time. The question is, which one are you focusing on right now? See, as a chosen one, you're always shifting between who you were, who you are, and who you're called to be. And when you choose to align with the divine version, everything else changes. Number 4, what you expect is what shows up. See, in quantum physics, this is called the observer effect. And that says that watching something actually affects how it behaves. You're not just watching life go by. You're actually participating in the outcome. What I mean is, if you expect breakthrough, start spotting open doors.
I thought I was going to be in a part 1.
Now, if you expect rejection, your brain will start scanning for proof of it. Your focus as a chosen one is powerful. Your words and your thoughts shape your world. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And finally, number 5, there is an invisible realm that holds your potential. See, in quantum physics, they say that there is an invisible field around us. This is a field of energy where everything that could happen already exists in potential. You're not trying to create your destiny from scratch. You're actually just tuning in to what's already been written. God encoded your assignment, abundance, and authority into that field. And when you align with his voice, you pull that version of reality into the now. So to recap, if you are a chosen one, your thoughts and your words shift your reality. Number 2, you are spiritually connected to others that are waking up right now. Number 3, you live in multiple versions of yourself at once. Number 4, your focus changes your future. And number 5, Your purpose already exists. You're tuning in, not chasing. People, you have divine DNA. In battle, you are a warrior. In revelation, you're a prophet. In silence, you are a frequency tuner. In chaos, you are a divine disruptor. If anything that we talked about today resonates with you, I want you to put into the comments, I have divine DNA. We'll see you on the next one.
I'm glad I found him. He's a good one to follow. We got the press secretary had a number today.
I'm inciting because if I'm outside, it's not to work on the house. That's why it's only LP for me.
Thank you, Caroline. Regarding the president's speech tonight, he's been in office over 540 days now. If what he says is tonight is backed up by evidence, why hasn't anyone been charged?
I'll check.
He hasn't revealed it yet. He hasn't declassified the documents yet, and you will see what he says tonight, and then we'll move forward appropriately from there.
Tonight from the Justice Department?
I don't speak on behalf of the Justice Department, Caitlin. You know that. Rachel.
Caroline, will there be charges?
Oh my God.
Department. I don't charge people. I just speak on behalf of the president. Rachel.
Caroline, welcome. Really quick. One of the staffer who is accused of profiting off of the president. You said he'll no longer be working here. Is he on administrative leave or is he going to be fired after that's over?
He is on unpaid administrative leave right now.
Okay. And just to follow up on the president's speech tonight, I mean, we've been talking to a lot of Republicans over on Capitol Hill. They have said that focusing on the economy is the right way to go ahead of the midterm elections. They believe that's what voters care most about. What does the president say to Republicans who think that focusing on the 2020 election, election integrity, all of these issues right now is not the right approach so close to the election?
Well, again, you guys have not heard the speech yet, so I would digress with the criticism until you actually hear what the president is going to say and what he's going to say when he addresses the American public. I would also add again that the administration and especially this president are able to walk and chew gum at the same time and tackle a number of issues on a number of different subjects every single day.
It was a good one. We'll play these two, then we'll get to Billy Bean.
We're downtown in broad daylight, the largest F-16 strike in history. One of them is Stroke 3, piloted by Major Emmett E.T. Tulia. The mission is routine for only about 90 more seconds. Then the radar warning receiver lights up, and it doesn't stop. What the pilot doesn't know, what nothing in the cockpit will tell him, is that the box meant to keep him alive has already quit on him. And below him, a city that's drilled 10 years for this exact moment is about to take the shot. Ahead of him, jets roll in through a sky full of fire. EF-111 Ravens are jamming the radars, burying every Iraqi scope in noise. F-4G Wild Weasels shoot anti-radar missiles at anything that lights up. The guys whose whole job is to make you regret switching radar on. Baghdad sits inside the densest air defense network anyone has flown since Vietnam. More than 50 missile batteries and thousands of guns, and a handful of weasels can't cover it all. And Stroke 3 is flying one of the jets they picked to go in deepest. Newer, stronger engines, chosen to haul the load into the worst of it. The very feature that makes his airplane special is the same one parking it in the hottest sky over the city.
You must be busy or
Refueling
working.
fought a wall of clouds and crosswind on the way in, and the formation stretched out so badly that the last 4 jets got sent home, too far behind to ever catch up. The Iraqis already knew the package was coming. They lit the smoke screens early to hide the targets underneath, which means the smoke doesn't just cover, it's a clock. They knew the timing well enough to start burning oil before the formation was even overhead. The jamming can't cover all of it, and one radar south of the river already has Stroke 3. He drops below the cloud deck, hunting the Dara oil refinery near a bend in the Euphrates. Right now, the jet's in good shape. 15,200 feet, 480 knots, 2 bombs still on the wings, and enough fuel for the run, plus about 12 minutes of hard maneuvering before he's flying on fumes. Over the next 4 minutes, every one of those numbers gets driven to the edge of what the jet and the man inside it can take. The note in his headset rolls over into a hard warble, the one that means a guidance radar has him, not just a search radar sweeping past. A telephone pole tears off south of the river, climbing fast toward the formation. He waits, holds the brake to the last second, then hauls the jet into a hard turn. The G slams him into the seat, the harness biting into his shoulders. His cheeks drag toward his jaw. The missile sails past and detonates in empty air behind him. That tone is the ANALR-69, the gear that listens for enemy radar and rats out anybody pointing at it. It tells him what's hunting him and from where, all in the pitch of the tone and a symbol on the scope by his knee, like a smoke alarm that screams one note for the toaster and another for the house fire. And the note just made is the one that means a missile was guiding. For most pilots, that warble means one thing: throw countermeasures. This one has no idea that chaff and flares are already his only defense, and that they aren't coming. Sailed past him was an SA-2 guideline, full designation S-75 Divina. 35 feet long, 2,300 kilograms off the rail, Mach 3.5. Range stretches to 34 kilometers. That's roughly downtown Dallas to Fort Worth, and it covers the gap in under 15 seconds. The warhead is 195 kilograms of fragmentation, proximity fused to detonate within 65 meters of the target. It doesn't have to touch you. It's flown by remote, a ground radar called fan song steering it the whole way to impact. Monstrous speed means it covers the gap to the formation in seconds. Terrible reflexes mean it can't follow a hard turn once it commits. A freight train somebody's trying to fly by radio. And the way you beat it is to make it commit to your turn, then brake late so it can't pull the lead it needs to follow you through. On the ground, the SA-2 crew works a system older than the pilot they're shooting at. A fan song radar van, a clutch of launchers, a missile so big it has to be raised to the rail like a flagpole, slow to reload. But at this range, it doesn't have to be fast. It just needs the formation. And
that was kind of cool. Yeah, there's the name. I believe it's TikTok. Okay, we've got 8-minute Billy. Just came out.
Whisper. To save money.
Welcome to Truth by Billy Bean, a flash update, July 15, 2026, time in Texas, about 4 p.m. And we'll talk about Russia standing up its Navy nuke forces, and it's believed the U.S. may use tactical nukes in Iran. And we have a low pressure area over Florida. So let's get started. This morning, the National Hurricane Center began to track a low pressure area over Florida that had its origin in the Gulf of America, I believe. But the prediction is that a very slow development, 0% over the next 48 hours, 20% over the next 7 days. But this low pressure is over Florida, so it's expected to bring heavy rain. So that's going on. And we have this. David Nino Rodriguez brought out some information, adding confirmation to President Trump's subject he will talk about to the American people at 9 p.m. Thursday night. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it will be about the 2020 election, with President Trump releasing much classified information. It may also include other topics such as Iran and Ukraine. And we also have developing another story with Secretary of State Marco Rubio declaring negative statements against the ICC, that's the International Court System, which is a subsidiary of the UN. The U.S. is not signed on to the ICC, so I'm a little bit curious to see what will come out from the Secretary of State regarding more information about the ICC. Marco Rubio seems to be implying that the ICC wants to make some type of legal claim on the U.S. Since we're not a signatory, it is not valid under U.S. law. And we have this. So what's going on in Ukraine and Russia? Ukraine, Russia, and also in Iran. And we know the U.S. military is once again hitting Iran today. And we have information that Iran's Army General Yana Ramin believes the U.S. Navy plans to use tactical nukes to take down or degrade Pickaxe Mountain, where it's believed Iran has stored nuclear enriched uranium. And the statement by the Iran general is, if the U.S. hits Pickaxe Mountain using tactical nukes, that Iran will hit Israel's Dimona nuclear power plant. We have this from U.S. Intel. Today, about noon, the Russian military stood up or brought to maximum alert all Russian Navy nuclear forces. It is unknown, but speculated that this is Russia's response to many sources believing the U.S. will use tactical nukes in Iran. So we will see. We have this, excuse me, regarding Ukraine and Russia. We know that there's a peninsula off of Ukraine, Crimea, primarily a civilian population that the Ukraine military has managed to destroy over the past 2 to 3 weeks, taking out its power, taking out its water, communications, and stopping Russia's humanitarian flotilla, bringing in food and fuel to Crimea to the civilian population. Now today it's coming out, Crimea is out of water. So we see Ukraine successful in taking out primarily a civilian population, and that in the last 9 days, Ukraine has taken out 136 Russian vessels using drones. So we see that going on. And we have this back to Iran.
As fire chief, it's my job to help improve my community. That's why I earned my degree.
That the IRGC threatened a ground invasion into the Gulf states to capture, according to their government, Iran's government, capture at least 100 U.S. soldiers. That's in the Iran government arena. We have this, that an IRGC intel officer has been taken out by the U.S. military, and that the U.S. military yesterday, July 14, engaged in a 7-hour mission, making many hits on Iran, and that today, July 15, the U.S. military has begun another round of hits on Iran's southern coast, and also Qasem Island, and a small island next to Qasem is Hennigan Island. The U.S. is also hitting that today. The U.S. made, multiple hits on Chabahar, taking out a communication tower. We are hearing about the IRGC evacuating its troops from major IRGC barracks located in major cities in Iran to go to smaller cities and barracks, but the U.S. is hitting both. So that's going on. We have this from CENTCOM that the U.S. military yesterday hit dozens of Iran targets along the south coast. The U.S. military this afternoon is beginning a renewed round of hits. And we have from Enforcer that the U.S. military is once again hitting Iran's south coast and hitting in Chabahar, also a location of Iran's fast attack boats. We have President Trump having a meeting with his military arm, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, also Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and other cabinet members to discuss renewed efforts in Iran. This concludes my flash. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
All right, so I'm going to change the thing. I'm going to do a bunch of short clips. I don't know how many I'll get. 240, 2 hours 40 so far. But I'm going to get a bunch in. I'm not going to do that 20-minute ones. I want to save my energy for tonight. I still got a lot of energy left, so I'm going to stay with the short ones.
Invalid, we promise a tenfold refund. This denture can be successfully worn in just 1 second and is suitable for everyone. Whether you have complete teeth, partial missing teeth, or no.
This is The Wire for 1800 Zulu, July 16th, 2026. Precedence is routine. Information cut off at 1700. Bottom line up front. Ukrainian attacks continue on Russian shipping in Black Sea. Russia retaliates by striking Ukrainian shipping. Wildfires continue to spread in Canada. Beginning with international events, in Europe, the war in Ukraine has continued to expand, with attacks on Russian merchant vessels remaining constant in the Black Sea. Russia has likewise retaliated by striking Ukrainian vessels also located within the Black Sea, as well as several port cities in southwestern Ukraine. In the Middle East, the war continues as before, with regular strikes taking place in the coastal regions, which have been host to targeting for several days. Last night, the U.S. struck the port of Bandar Abbas again, and the Iranians have responded with attacks on Kuwait, which continued sporadically overnight. Analysts comment. One aspect of the war that has not escalated for now has been the conflict between Saudi Arabia and Yemen. After the initial mutual strikes 2 days ago, the Saudis have chosen to back off this line of effort, probably because they realized how bad of an idea it is to start a fight with the Houthis right now. That Saudi east-west pipeline is the main asset that is keeping Saudi Arabia in the global oil market right now, and the Houthis can very easily threaten their main revenue source. In Canada, over the past few days, wildfires have continued to spread throughout the nation. As of this morning, a total of 859 wildfires are actively burning nationwide in Canada, most of which are clustered in Ontario, Quebec, and the Northwest Territories. Of these active fires, 63 are out of control with 0% containment. Evacuations of thousands of rural and tribal areas have been ordered over thousands of square miles, and air quality alerts have been issued for much of the American Northeast and Mid-Atlantic due to the smoke. Analyst comments for this wire. Though not exactly grabbing front-page headlines, the war in Ukraine has continued to expand and become increasingly more serious during this year's summer offensive. Numbers are hard to independently verify, but the Ukrainians claim a total of 136 Russian vessels have been struck so far during this Black Sea targeting campaign since it began last week. This number seems a little high, but what is undeniable is that the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov have become a new front during this war for both sides, as demonstrated by the Russians now targeting Ukrainian ships. Equally important is the impact this is having on the broader Russian oil market. Previous strikes on petroleum refineries resulted in fuel shortages throughout Russia, which have varied by severity and location. Striking tankers in the Black Sea really only impacts the petroleum export market, and the long-term impacts of this will be interesting to follow. Like it or not, the concept of globalization has functioned as designed, and most nations are linked to each other in ways that are not readily apparent. Russia mostly exports oil to India and China, and their exports have remained high during the Persian Gulf crisis. So Ukraine, in striking the oil intended for China, is directly playing a hand in the Gulf War, a conflict thousands of miles away. How this will manifest over the next few weeks will be important. Gas prices in the US have been much cheaper than they should be due to a long list of factors, one of which has been the Chinese dipping into their own reserves to sharply reduce their demand. Ukraine strikes ships intended for China, and China now has to either dip into their reserves more or buy more oil from the Middle East, and demand goes up in an already restricted. The Gulf War is still hot to some degree, and the minuscule flow of oil that had begun to trickle out of the Gulf during the ceasefire has once again slowed to a drip. And now that Ukraine is striking Russian oil intended for China, an already tight oil market is probably going to be squeezed even harder. This concludes The Wire for 1800 Zulu, July 16th, 2026.
Yeah, Wire Channel. Our new lady on TikTok.
To vote for the bills that he puts forth. So you have to think he's been in office for 35 years. And I find it really interesting that there's so many comments of people saying that, oh, well, everybody else is to blame because they won't vote for his bills. Yeah, but that's kind of the job that he has. If he can't get people to vote for the bills that he writes, then he's not good. Like, we're literally paying him to get people to push his agenda. That's why we vote for them, right? We vote for people whose ideas that we like because we believe that they're going to push those ideas. So if they're bad at pushing those ideas, then they're not good at their job. And after 35 years, that's a Bernie problem, not an everybody else problem. Everybody has to work with everybody else. That is the system that we set up. Democracy. Whose responsibility is that? That's Bernie's responsibility. He needs to make compromises and make friendships and partnerships and dealings. Didn't anybody watch the show House of Cards? That was literally what Kevin Spacey did, was he whipped the votes, right? At least in the first season. It's this lack of accountability, right? Everybody's against me. No, you just suck at your job. Bernie is not a very good lawmaker because he can't get people to—
Hey, that was good.
Even to this day, lots of people believe that the 2016 Democratic primary was rigged against Bernie Sanders, and the DNC unfairly crowned Hillary Clinton as the Democratic nominee. But what actually happened? Bernie definitely lost, and it was really for two main reasons. Number one, not a very good strategy, and number two, he never tried to get the African-American vote in the South. What's funny is Bernie actually had slight advantages over Hillary, like Russian trolls actually boosting Bernie Sanders on Twitter. Okay, so quickly, before we get into it, you need to understand how the Democratic primary process works. The official primary starts in February and goes all the way through to the end of July, culminating in the Democratic National Convention, okay, which is where they crown a winner. And a winner is crowned by how many delegates they have. Delegates get allocated based on the popular vote in most states, all right? Each state has a certain amount of delegates, which is proportional to their size, right? The majority of states award their delegates based on the share of vote a candidate has. And of course, because it's complicated, there's a few states that still have like a caucus, right? And this is a party-run local meeting, and then they allocate delegates that way. Then you also have super delegates. These are like independent extra delegates that you can get. It's around 15 to 20% of the total delegate count, right? And these are like elected officials and like party leaders. So you're going to have like senators, congressmen. So even before they even kicked off their campaigns, I'm going to tell you, Hillary had a really big advantage, okay? You know what it was? She lost to Obama in 2008, and she learned from her loss. She studied it, right? She even went ahead and hired the campaign strategist that helped Obama win. He started getting delegates committed in the summer before the primary election. Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, this was his first time actually running for president. And remember, he wasn't even a Democrat. He was an independent, all right? That means he didn't have like the 20 plus years of relationships that Hillary had. Because remember, she had been first lady, her husband had been president, And she'd even been Secretary of State under Obama. Bernie, on the other hand, it doesn't look like he even worked on building those relationships before he ran for president. Instead, he built a grassroots small dollar fundraising operation and a really strong volunteer canvassing model, which is really, really great, okay? But his campaign didn't really get up and running until the summer of 2015. And at that point, Hillary, she already had like a national infrastructure in place. So Bernie invested heavily in early states like Iowa and New Hampshire, but those states didn't have a lot of delegates. They're really small, okay? Hillary instead focused her energy on high delegate count states, right? So on February 1st, you have the first Iowa caucus, right? That's the first one. And to put it politely, it was a complete shit show. So that means there were super long lines, really confusing signage. They were totally understaffed, and it was really, really disorganized. This was actually the fault of the Iowa Democratic Party, not the national DNC. However, that is something that Bernie and his supporters would come back to over and over again as evidence of the system being rigged against him. Clinton was ultimately declared the winner, but by an extraordinarily narrow margin. Like literally there were coin tosses for some of the groups. There was a number of different races, and then by the end of February, there was South Carolina. Clinton won South Carolina by a large margin, obviously because of Black voters, which is a core Clinton constituency. So a month later, March 1st, you have Super Tuesday, okay? This is where there's 11 states all on the same day. Clinton won 7 of those, building a huge delegate lead that Sanders really could never get to. And on March 8th, Sanders won Michigan, but Clinton won in a landslide in Mississippi. March 15th, Clinton swept Florida, Illinois, North Carolina, Ohio, and Missouri, effectively the night that analysts began calling the math nearly insurmountable for Sanders. And then by the end of April, Clinton had basically won at that point, right? There was very few paths to victory for Sanders as far as delegates. This is when Bernie Sanders really started to escalate a rigged system rhetoric as his losses mounted, all right? Because he was mad. And instead of saying that he just didn't have a good campaign, he started using that language more and more, okay? Bernie Sanders argued that the Democratic...
Okay, I got one more with her. She talks fast, but she's good.
This is when Bernie Sanders really started to escalate a rigged system rhetoric as his losses mounted. Bernie Sanders argued that the Democratic Party's delegate and superdelegate rules were unfairly tilted against him. Language that really started to piss off some of the delegates. And you have to remember, superdelegates, they're not like locked into any candidate officially until the convention in June. So when Bernie's going out on TV and publicly like talking shit about the DNC, that didn't make the superdelegates like him more. Early June, Hillary Clinton won a lot of big states, and that really pushed her over the delegate threshold. By mid-July, Bernie officially endorsed Hillary. However, at that point, Bernie had been yelling about this rigged system against him for so long that his supporters really started to get angry, okay? And Bernie didn't do anything to tamp down that anger. In fact, he started getting really aggressive on Twitter and during some of his rallies. So in early June, some of his supporters even filed a lawsuit against the DNC, and Bernie kept quiet about it. In late July, WikiLeaks had a DNC email hack, okay? Russian hackers leaked emails which showed that some of the DNC staffers, well, privately, they favored Hillary Clinton. And though people said they didn't like Bernie Sanders, there really wasn't anything they could do to hurt him, because you have to remember, the DNC is a fundraising organization, not a kingmaker. They don't hand out delegates. His supporters didn't care. At the DNC convention, right after he had already conceded, the delegates that Bernie had won, they walked out and staged a sit-in after Clinton's official nomination, right? Protesting what they called a rigged process. Again, it wasn't, right? There was also a ton of protesters outside of the Democratic convention. During this entire time, Donald Trump had also been on Twitter posting like 20 times a day and really amplified Bernie's rigged claims throughout the general election. Also at that time, there was a very real and documented Twitter bot campaign, right? Close to 30 people were actually indicted by Robert Mueller. I can also do an entire deep dive on that. I would love to, but their goal was actually to create chaos and spread misinformation during the election. So they actually did a lot to support Bernie. Then a year after the primary, Donna Brazile drops her memoir. Right? That revealed an early agreement between the DNC and Clinton for fundraising. People went fucking nuts over this, right? Including Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, okay? What everybody ignored is that this agreement Well, Bernie had the exact same one that Hillary had. Everybody in the media and Bernie Sanders, they just ignored that pesky detail and they didn't talk about it. Ultimately, Bernie lost because the math didn't math in his favor, right? And ultimately, that's his fault, right? It's strategy. Clinton won because more Democratic voters chose her. She beat Bernie Sanders by 3.7 million votes. And she had 359 pledged delegates, okay? That is a larger margin than what Obama beat her by in 2008, right? And nobody called that one rigged. And ultimately, her strategy was better, right? Because she learned from her former loss. Clinton dominated large, diverse urban states, and Bernie never tried to win the black vote in the South. Instead, he focused on rural white voters. Bernie Sanders won 15 of the 20 whitest states, right? But those states all had really low populations. Hillary, on the other hand, had decades-long relationships with black political leaders. However, even with all of this, Bernie has continued to blame the rigged system, even though he was ultimately responsible. He didn't build relationships. He didn't have a very good strategy. And then when he saw he was losing, he pissed people off even more that he could have actually won over. And ultimately, two things can be true at the same time. We can love Bernie Sanders and his message of wealth inequality and needing to fight against that. However, it is also true that he basically perpetuated misinformation. He was the first elected official that had actually talked this way in office, and it legitimized this conspiracy theory and misinformation. It was not true, and he never resolved that issue, intentionally so. So in early May, Bernie Sanders won Indiana. It was really too small to change the math, right? This is when Bernie Sanders really started to...
Okay, that's a good reporter there. I think she's out of California. So yeah, I'm gonna do about 4 or 5 here left. I don't get tired tonight. Where am I at? Internet acting up now.
Breaking news here in Trump land, Trump Turnberry, the finest golf course in all of the United Kingdom, where I have 2 shows coming up tonight and tomorrow night at the Trump Ballroom here, which is exactly what our family on the road deserves. First up, England out of the World Cup. Once again, we have shown that we are more afraid of losing than having the courage to fight, and I blame the Germans, Thomas Tuchel. Why we are trusting a German to win something after they lost 2 world wars is anyone's guess. In other news, Andy Burnham set to become Prime Minister of Great Britain in 4 days' time. Despite the fact he has never stood to be Prime Minister, he has never been elected by a single person to be Prime Minister, and he's never told us what he might do as Prime Minister. But he will be a Prime Minister in a black t-shirt, all of the same. Ed Miliband wants to become Chancellor, the net zero nutter. He's currently on his knees in front of Ed Miliband, doing what he needs to do to try and score the job. And finally, Pete Hegseth, over in America, the Department for War is going to start bringing in testosterone testing for the blooming American forces. And I am here for it. 1970s porn written all over that, a tool belt, no clothes, and a massive cock. Either way, Pete, if you need someone to help with the testosterone testing, I am bloody well here for it. That's it, my darlings. Batshit bonkers Britain.
Okay, I want our latest there. Our latest one. Okay, 3 more from the other lady. Hang on, buddy, almost done.
Find enough money to terrorize us and assert their authority. A new study just found that the cost of Trump's National Guard takeover in Washington, D.C. is over $1 million a day. While Trump claims that these troops were deployed to control rampant crime, What's actually happening is these National Guardsmen are mostly arresting and assaulting homeless people. Trump himself even admitted that a large part of this money was being spent to ship homeless people out of Washington, D.C. to make the city look better. But the most disgusting part about this whole thing is that just a quarter of what Trump is spending every single day in D.C. would be enough to house every homeless person in the city. This exposes a fundamental truth about Trump and his agenda, that the cruelty is the point. Asserting power and dominance over vulnerable people is more important than actually governing or solving problems. And this is going to get worse before it gets better. 16 million people were just kicked off of life-saving Medicare because Trump said we couldn't afford it. But we can afford $1 million a day to terrorize the residents of Washington, D.C. And now he's talking about expanding this. Never believe the government. Late 30s. And before you say anything about video games or ambition or woke women, let me tell you exactly what's happening. It costs nearly $300,000 to raise a child in this country. Childcare costs alone rose 51.8% in just 2 years, and the average annual cost of raising a child under 5 hit nearly $30,000 last year, rising faster than inflation. So truthfully, unchecked corporate greed made having a family a luxury good in 2026. But economics isn't the only factor. Women aged 18 to 30 are now 30 percentage points more liberal than their male peers. It's the widest political gender divide of any generation alive. That didn't happen naturally. A pipeline of podcasters, influencers, and right-wing media told a generation of economically anxious young men that their problems were caused by women and immigrants, not the billionaires extracting their wages. That radicalization has real consequences. Gen Z men who voted for Trump ranked having children as their top definition of success. Gen Z women who voted for Harris ranked it second to last. You can't build a life with someone whose politics say your body is a policy question. The right broke something fundamental between young men and women, and compatibility is a key precursor to child rearing. But what does this delay in starting a family cost us beyond money? When you have your first child at 35, your parents are likely in their early 60s. That leaves them significant new data.
Okay, last one, you guys. I'll be back at 8. If he comes on earlier, I'll be on.
Forcibly change the course of American history, and nobody's talking about it. So let me put my law degree to good use and break it down for you. Hidden in the court's decision on Trump's birthright citizenship executive order is the following line, where the majority says, "No one disputes that the executive has a duty to follow the law, but the judiciary does not have unbridled authority to enforce this obligation. In fact, sometimes the law forbids the judiciary from doing so." So in layman's terms, what the court is saying here is that while the president should, in theory, follow the law and respect the Constitution, if he doesn't do that, the courts cannot hold him accountable. The courts have historically been the referee on executive power, and they call a foul when the president crosses the line. But this Supreme Court is saying that that's not their role anymore. So if we follow the logic of this precedent, the Constitution is dead letter law to the president if he decides he'd rather not follow it. This was the cherry on top of the court this term laying the groundwork of a de facto presidential dictatorship, where the president is immune from the law, cannot be held accountable by the courts, and now at this point, the Constitution is more of a guiding principle than an actual binding document. The mainstream media and legal scholars are playing this down because this is so counter to everything we've ever been taught about the American government and the principles of law. It's difficult to wrap your mind around. There's a reason the court waited to release this. Okay, so hidden in one.
Okay, those are 3 good reporters there, the ladies there on TikTok. All right, you guys, so we'll see what happens tonight. I hope it's not no regular same old speech. So we'll see how it goes. So thanks, Moz, Kay, Flango, Carol, Lucy, Tim, AJ. And God bless everybody. Love all. Remember, please hit the like. Stay safe. Stay strong. I have my signs on my table. Stay safe. Never give up. And signing off, Chico Dude and Ariella Bella. Yep, catch you tonight. See how it goes tonight. Hopefully we'll get some big news. See you soon.